Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. We're in May. It's definitely May. I think it's the 8th for you guys. It's a Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there, and happy Mother's Day to all of you who have mothers, which I'm
Yes.
assuming is most people. Yeah. I don't have a mother about anymore. Do you have a mother about anymore?
Nope.
No, you and I are motherless.
That's right.
We're
We are the
bastages.
motherless.
Yeah. But hopefully the rest of you guys are having a good time with your mom, getting her some gifts, taking her out for dinner. I know when I was a kid, we'd make mom breakfast in bed with those little trays, and then we go out to lunch wherever she wanted. And it was kind of what we did for Mother's Day, and we got little cards and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess this is what everybody does. you know, uh, Kind of acknowledge the mom, which you're still allowed to do. I guess Father's Day is kind of out because every Father's
Hmm.
Day I see them honoring the mother. The best father I ever had was my mom because I'm raised by a single mom. I was like, oh, you're a dick. All right. Anyway. Hey, Grimlock, what's up, dude?
What is up, Mr. Busby? How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm awake. It's a bit gloomy day. The dog is just sprawled out on the floor. You guys ever notice how dogs they just don't give a shit and they'll just sprawl.
Yeah.
They don't care how much room they take. They just sprawl. I kind of love the freedom. I respect that shit, Grimlock. I respect it.
Yeah.
Do you ever have a dog?
No.
Well, what's wrong with you? You're a
I've,
young man. Get a dog. I mean, you don't want to
I
have when you're
always,
old.
it's on my to-do list.
Yeah, you should get yourself a dog, man. Yeah, you got a dog, Thunder, don't you?
Oh yeah. I pretty much always have had a dog.
Yeah.
There was a few years in my teenage years where I didn't, but pretty much since I can remember, I've
Mhm.
had some form of canine companion.
Yeah, no, a dog's good.
Yeah.
Definitely do it when you're young, though. I'm not real old enough to have an opinion, I guess. But I just don't think a dog's something you want when you're old, though.
Why not?
I think because it does. There is effort needed to put into a dog. It's not like a cat. You can just let the cat do whatever the hell it wants. But a dog, you need to care for. And you get older, it's got to be a bit of a wear on you, I think. But what do I know? I'm not really old enough to have that opinion, I guess. But it just feels like a younger person pet to me. You know,
Well, it could be. I guess it just really depends on your health situation.
that's
But
true.
it's also nice to have for companionship, and it gives you a little bit of a purpose. Right? If say you're old and retired, and a lot of people struggle to find what to do with themselves.
Hmm.
Well, take care of your dog. That's what
I
you can do.
I doubt I'll have any trouble finding what to do with myself at any age.
Well, oh yeah, right. This guy, like he's ever actually gonna retire. I'll believe it when I see it.
I know. I know. That's my point. I can't stop. My wife laughed at me too. You guys having conversations.
No, Chester, you're just obsessive. That's all. You have
Yeah,
an
I know. I
obsessive
know. I know.
compulsion towards work.
But she did laugh at me, dude. I was like, okay, I'm going to retire. And she just laughed. I was like, damn, it's my wife, man. Ah,
Uh,
oh well. But you
She
know,
probably wouldn't know what to do with you because you'd have pent up energy. You'd be frantic.
it's true, and it's
Yep.
probably true. So, and she doesn't get in the way of it. She knows right well.
Like you
To
can
do
ask
that.
Grimlock. So my furnace went out this week, right?
Mhm.
Just stop lighting, and it's not even really cold enough for a furnace. But my wife gets cold, so if she wants it on, I let her turn it on. Regardless, it stopped working, and at midnight, right, it was after one of our streams. Remember, my wife came in and talked about it.
Oh yeah,
I told him, I'm like, you know what? I'm not tearing this thing apart at midnight. 5 minutes later, guess what I was doing?
tearing it apart.
Tearing that,
Damn
tearing it
right.
apart at midnight.
Damn right. I understand that. Do not leave for tomorrow what can be done right the fuck now.
It's true.
That's the rule, Grimlock.
Hey, no, it happens.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. Part of it, I'm sure it was growing up with a military dad, but another part of it was the fact that my stupid ass brother, and if he's listening, yeah, you're still a dumbass. Um, he would take shit apart constantly, but he
And
never
not know
knew.
how to
He
put it
never.
back together.
That's right. He couldn't put it back
That's the hardest
together.
part.
And
That's
and
always the hardest
and
part.
who got
is
in
put it
trouble
back
for
together.
him doing that? Who got in trouble for him doing that, Grimlock? Who?
You.
That's damn right, me. Why I
And,
don't
and,
know.
and
So you
I'm laughing. I'm laughing extra hard at that because I went through that too.
you did, okay. Well, then you
My
know I
my
became really
younger
good at putting
brother.
shit back together. Is what you know. What happens, you know?
My my younger brother was that kid that you couldn't leave alone for 5 minutes because he would do shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And one day took our eye off of him for it had to be about 15 minutes. Went in the room, the fucking lamp was taken apart.
Yep,
Don't know how he did it. Don't know where he got the tools from,
yep,
but
yep,
the lamp was apart.
yep. So you had to put it back together. Radios, TVs, antennae. I mean, you name it, right? Damn kid. But I was constantly having to put
No,
stuff back together, man.
still the best one was when the best one was still when he found my dad's hair clippers.
Oh
That was still the best one.
yeah, yeah. Well, anyway,
Yep.
yeah. That's why I
I
did.
grew up in a family of repairmen, so
Mm,
the worst part is I didn't get the extreme mechanical aptitude. Like I'm okay, and I'm great at diagnostic. I usually, without even taking something apart, I can figure out what's wrong with it, even if it's something I've never even really worked on before. As long as I basically understand how it operates, I can usually figure out what's wrong with it.
yeah.
Um, but when it comes to like mechanical skill, I didn't get the gene like my father and my grandfather had. Those two were insane. The things that they could just tear anything apart, put it back together perfectly with very little effort. And the worst part is putting stuff back together. It's such a pain in the ass because nothing wants to go back the way it was. It just doesn't. It wants
No,
to argue.
that is true. That is true. Well, it's all those factory fit, because things aren't
Yep.
handmade anymore. But
Yep.
yeah, no, I understand that completely. They just don't. They refuse to vacuum pack again. But the funny thing, Grimlock, what do you think my brother ended up becoming? Guess.
I'm guessing he didn't become a mechanic.
No, Apache pilot.
What?
Well, I guess helicopter
You
would be
take the
better.
Apaches apart. That's the question.
I bet he didn't. But no, he actually was flying Apaches over in Bosnia and different other places like that. So I mean, he I'm the funny thing is he's retired now, but he doesn't fly helicopters for a living, which I don't know why, because he does like some kind of computer hardware repair or building. I don't know, something. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why the hell aren't you a helicopter pilot? If I was a helicopter pilot, I'd be a helicopter pilot every day. I mean,
Yeah.
personally. Anyway,
Maybe that's why he retired. He took one apart one day.
maybe that's what it was. Yeah, but he's one of those rare humans that have better than perfect vision. I mean, I know we've all met one, right? Those guys can see literally the needle in the haystack. He's that guy. So it's not surprising me he ended up flying something. But anyway, brothers. Do you have a brother, Thundero?
I have two of them, but unfortunately they died before I was born.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
That's a sad story.
What you asked?
I mean, my brother's a moron, but I'm happy he's not dead.
Yeah.
You know. Uh,
No, I probably wouldn't be alive if they had made it. So it kind of works out in my favor, I guess.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. My brother did go on to have his own family,
Good.
dysfunctional as it is, but I mean, at least he's got one, I suppose. How many siblings do you have, Grimlock?
Yeah.
How many?
How many siblings? I got two brothers and a sister.
Wow. All right. All right. So three boys and a girl finally came along. She's the baby, I'm assuming.
No.
Really?
Um. No, she's only 17 months younger than me.
Oh
So
wow.
she came pretty damn quick.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm 5 years separated from my brother and my younger sister. So she's 10 years younger than me, dude.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gap. I don't know what that gap was all about. But knowing my mother, she probably whined a lot about being pregnant. And we're going to talk about that today. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the title of today's show is Night Owls on Vaginas. Now, Grimlock, I was thinking about using uteri, but I thought it was too much on the nose.
Uh,
Yeah. Anyway, that's all anybody can talk about. I mean, my
Vaginas.
God, what a week, dude. I mean,
It has
geez.
indeed been an interesting week, has it not?
It has been, dude. I mean, we're seemingly officially at war with Russia, I guess.
Yeah,
And
officially, unofficially. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, all they're doing openly, what they're saying. I mean, if Russia smacks some American property or an ally, I mean, you can't really blame them, can you? I mean, we're
No,
clearly at war with them, and
we're engaging in it anyway.
yeah. So I mean,
Well, for some reason, a lot of Americans and the American establishment specifically has decided that sanctions and seizures aren't acts of war somehow.
yeah,
But I
it's
mean,
more
that
than that.
sounds an awful lot like an act of war to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's bigger than that though. They're giving intel.
Yeah,
Direct,
yeah,
actionable, live intel, dude. That's war. That is war,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the thing is, and you guys know my standing on it. I don't like war. I kind of wish the Russian Duma had not made this decision, but
Hmm.
I understand why they did. I understand why we're here. I get it. No one else well, at least the people who speak are understand it at all. But it's just a shitty situation, right? As far as I'm
Mm.
concerned. But the thing is, if you've actually been paying attention at all to what's been going on in Ukraine, I mean, Russia has desperately tried to tippy toe their way through this, dude.
Yeah.
They've really, really tried, and it's cost them material and men to do it that way. But it
Hmm.
looks like they're exasperated and they're like, screw it, we're just going to make actual war. My God, that's not good for you people of Ukraine, dude, because Russia actually engaging in war is going to be freaking cleansed earth, dude.
Yeah,
It's not good, man.
it's not getting better over there. And in all honesty, I said it from the beginning. Uh, as much as people like to crap all over Putin, what's he supposed to do? What's he
Yeah, no,
supposed to
it's
do
shit
when NATO
situation.
refuses to honor their agreements? What's
Yeah,
he supposed to do?
yeah, it's not
Like
good, man.
if it was say that was Mexico, right? And some foreign lobby was creeping in to this hemisphere.
You mean like
You
it
don't think
is right
America would have
now?
a problem? Yeah, exactly. You don't think America has a problem with that?
I'm sure they
You
do.
don't think the government and the military finds that a little bit of a provocation? Of course
Yeah,
they do.
it's true.
Of course they do.
Well, Elrod has an opinion. He says, "So what fake thing that'll be forgotten in 3 minutes are we mad about today?" Well, dude, you have to laugh along the way, Elrod. You're missing the
That's
point.
right. That's right.
It's comedic, dude. How dumb these people are, dude. And you're right. They change their minds very quickly. But it's still funny. I got some funny ones today, dude. Alex Jones was right. Alex Jones is always right, dude. He's a
That's right. Every
maniac.
time.
He's a maniac. I agree. He's this weird pseudo acting method thing. I don't know, but the dude did his research. He had a big team to help him.
Hmm.
Chester, what is the situation with Taiwan? Well, China, I think, is just sitting back and seeing how it works. But you got to understand the tentative relationship between Russia and China and India as part of this conversation, too. Because really, what Russia would love is if America and China got into a big old shooting war.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really
of
what
course.
Russia would love to happen. So,
So
yeah,
would India.
so
Let's
would
be
India.
honest.
They would love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not our ally. They're tangentially our ally because China's next to them. If China wasn't there, they'd have very little to do with
Yeah.
us.
You got to also keep in mind that any day now, or any day a decade from now, China could fall into civil war, dude. Any
I would
day
hope
it
so.
could happen.
I would
They're on
hope
the edge of it every day. Yeah,
the Chinese people or somebody would finally have enough of that Winnie the Pooh looking piece of shit, and just somebody over there do something to stop them.
hey, he's just
Because
a
the stuff that
Marxist
we see
dictator.
coming out of China, man, oh
It's
my
bad.
god,
Yeah, but if you
it
take out
doesn't get much worse. Doesn't get much
no,
worse.
they are really bad. It's Stalin-esque, actually.
Yeah.
And But the thing is that it's hard to find. But if you go dig it up, you can find that there are little riots pop up daily in multiple locations across China. I know
Yep.
the Chinese media does everything they can to lock that shit down, but they can't lock it down 100%. You have little riots happening all across China all the time, dude. I know that you have this image that no one does or says anything because they're terrified. They don't seem to be that terrified. They seem to be pretty pissed, to be honest with you.
Well, the antidote to fear is not courage. The antidote to fear is wrath. Once you're at the point where
Sure, it's true.
you're
Yeah,
just done, you're ready, you don't care. It's when you stop caring and are only angry is when the people who try to control you with fear lose control. They can't. Fear will not control wrath. It's its counter.
it's true. It's
And
true.
these people have been horrifically oppressed for way too long. And I hope they find their spirit and they find that, whatever you want to call it, their metal, and they do something about it because
Yeah.
something needs to be done about it. And it doesn't need to be us solving that problem. They need to solve their
Yeah.
problem.
I seriously doubt you'll have a whole China though. I think it'll break into multiple the
It
little
has
countries.
before.
Yeah. No, it has. It's been a while though. But
Yep.
Roger says, but didn't Trump threaten Putin a long time ago not to? Yeah, no, he did. But you got to keep in mind he threatened everybody. But
Yes. It worked.
it did. But what balanced that threat to Putin out was he was also threatening NATO.
That's right.
He was beating them about the head and shoulders, dude, saying you guys ain't paying your dues. NATO is useless. He was really
Well,
hammering on it, right?
is he wrong?
He's not wrong. He was that was one of the rightest things he did, actually.
No,
But
honestly, of all the criticisms you could give Trump, I honestly think his broad foreign policy was correct. That doesn't mean every little thing he did was correct, and obviously the
yeah,
stuff in Yemen is abominable. And if we
yes,
had a proper international law system, that him and Obama and every one of our presidents for the last would probably have already been tried for crimes against humanity. But but other than that, he did very well. I think
yeah, better
personally,
than
I
I
think he did
expected.
very well
Yeah.
in North Korea. Did way better than anybody had ever done in North Korea.
Hmm.
To the point where little Rocket Man was literally offering him military aid if he needed to do a coup. That's how much he liked him. He did that publicly.
Yeah.
The government of North Korea did. I said he must have made an impression. Um, let's see, the peace in the Middle East. I mean, it's obviously not all, hence yet Yemen and other places, but there were a lot of peace accords signed. We'll
Yep.
see if they stick under Trump, and a lot of that was because his broad foreign policy was correct. That doesn't mean it was perfect. It wasn't even close to that, but he got most of it right. And the idea is very simple. Is he's using Teddy Roosevelt's style, but he's doing it internationally,
Yeah.
right? Talk softly, carry a big stick.
Yeah. No.
But he didn't talk softly. He just straight told him, "Listen, we got more nukes than you. So if you want to play the nuke game, okay,
Yeah.
good luck."
It seemed to got a little bit done though, but I just can't resist the Rocket Man. They say I can't have sex with my sister. She's very scary, actually. Rocket Man. I'm sorry.
Well, people keep
I
saying
could do
things
that
like
for an hour.
Afghanistan was America's longest war, and I'm like, that's just factually incorrect. Our
Well, that was our
longest war,
longest police action, I suppose.
well, yes, but our longest actual war was Korea, and Trump ended it,
He did.
and he'll never get credit for it ever,
No,
and that's ridiculous because he should get credit for it.
fair enough. Well, anyway, it's been a week and stuff is still going on. But Grimlock, are you ready? We're good. We're going to talk about some stuff. I'm ready.
I am ready.
Grimlock's ready. Let's see. Where am I? Oh, there it is. We're gonna start out with that one. I guess I could, but probably I won't though. Let me go do something else actually. Let me bring this up here, and yeah, I'll come back to that one. Let me come over here. I do want to start with the tabletop stuff as I usually do. Today I saw this on the Discord. Once again, if you guys got anything to say or anything you want us to talk about, just throw it up on the Discord, dude. I do check it, kinda. Like
He
the
never
last.
talks in it though. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. But you guys, when I'm online, you see me. But
That's
anyway,
true.
there's absolutely must be evil races. this is all about the whole thing with tabletop, which I'm going to get into that as well. But with RPGs, and this, orcs are black people. Okay, fine. There absolutely must be evil races. I'm sorry that this is a hard pill for people to swallow, but not everyone could suspend their disbelief far enough for RPG utopia. Some folks want. Some of us are influenced by real life and how people actually are. Uh, that's a truthful statement. The thing that irks me in this statement is the TTRPG. Fuck all the rest of them. RPGs were tabletop role playing was RPG. Video games and all that
Mm.
stuff came later. Screw you.
It's,
That's our
it's
world.
accurate. It is
Anyway,
accurate.
but yeah, and they're there just like in a video game. It's just simply the enemy, the opponent.
That's
And
right.
but everything these days must be touchy feely. So I'm kind of curious with these, particularly talking about he's talking about D&D here, obviously. What are you supposed to fight if everything's a good guy?
Oh, you see, we have to give context, and everything has to have perfect like political reasoning and da 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 da. There has to be some grand reason why this is your enemy. It can't just be, hey, that thing's evil. Let's go kill it.
Yeah,
You know, like fantasy has pretty much always been since the dawn of cave paintings.
yeah, no, it's just the enemy.
Evil really, when people say things like there's no such thing as evil, that's not true, but it's kind of true in a way, because technically for most people when they say something's evil, especially in a fantasy setting, they just mean enemy. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's just the
That's all
enemy.
it means.
Yeah,
Just the enemy. You don't have to look deeper than that. We don't have to deconstruct basic storytelling. We don't have to do it. You know why? Because it's basic storytelling. Easy. Done. Simple. It's kind of like we don't need to deconstruct 1 plus 1 equals 2. You know why? Because it's 1 plus 1 equals 2. We don't need. That's all
that's
we
true.
need. We don't need to go any
More
deeper.
than that. We don't need fourth dimensional thinking. That's true. Although I did think
Correct.
it was funny in the Will Smith movie, they're called Bright, which is basically urban arcana. There's a shout out for
Yeah.
you nerds out there. And it is all right. It is all right. They were going to make another one, but not now. Anyway,
Yeah.
but in that it was
It
really
was a
funny.
shame.
Well, I
I
thought
liked it.
it could have done something. I would have made it a show, honestly. But
Yeah.
whatever. The orcs in there, interestingly enough, were the hip hop baddies.
Yes, that's right. They were
And
basically the blacks and the Hispanics
so Hollywood
of
is
their
telling
society.
us that they are the
Right.
black
Is,
peoples.
is that where this came from? Wait, is
Maybe,
that where this whole thing came from? Was that movie?
probably.
People have literally like transfixed that in their mind,
Well,
so now that's where we're at. Is
you
that
know,
what's happening
you
here?
know how I think, Thundero.
Uh oh.
Yeah,
Do I? Do I
yeah,
want to?
yeah. You do. I'm a troublemaker.
No, you? I
Yeah,
don't believe it.
God.
I don't believe
Uh,
it.
let's see. Corlac, of course, Ben says, God forbid fantasy have motivations for someone and
Right.
something is
I
evil.
won't. Simple.
Yeah, well, sometimes it actually makes a story better, Ben, but sometimes it's just simple, especially when doing a one
Yeah.
off. Yeah, we're fighting goblins. Blech,
Like,
dead
we
goblins.
don't need to know in The Lord of the Rings why Sauron's an evil bastard. He just is.
No.
And that's good enough. We have to stop him. Okay.
Yeah, for those of
That's it.
us who have
All you need.
read the Silmarillion, however, we do know his motivations.
Yes.
But in Lord of the
Yes.
Rings, he doesn't really have them, does he? Other
Yeah.
than the to make sure that the ring is not destroyed. I mean, that's his only motivation, really. But
Right.
yeah, no. Sometimes motivations is great for storytelling. Sometimes you don't need it.
That's right.
You
It
know.
really just depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to make a deep humanistic story, then yeah, you need personal motivations that make sense.
Yeah.
But not every story needs to be that. Some stories can just be go kill the dragon
Sure.
because it's a dragon. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, like in a movie like Starship Troopers, of course, there's a lot more
yeah,
dialogue and context going on there. But you're just killing bugs, dude. There's
yeah.
bugs.
There's the evil commie bugs. They gotta go.
Bugs. Yeah.
They gotta go.
The Empire stormtroopers just squash them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, I mean, when you look at it I bet you could look at it from citizens' point of view that live in that galaxy. Some of them would probably have preferred the Empire because at least it was, orderly. Whereas the rebels have been a mess.
That was the
The
joke,
New
though.
Republic, yeah,
Yeah.
is a complete mess.
Let's
Ah,
see. Yes, we said that, Ben. Catch up. Okay. But anyway, yeah, no, I get this statement here. Fair enough. And really, it's more about convenience. I mean, if you have a DM who can actually weave a good story,
yep.
or working off a module, which really sucks balls. But if you're forced to do that, fine. Then you can take in build in motivation and all that kind of cool stuff. But even with that, sometimes you're just going out and saving the princess from the damn orcs. Kill them
That's
all,
right.
right?
That's right.
It's both, really. uh
It doesn't really need to be much deeper than that. And again, it just depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to just tell a basic fan, like most D&D stories, I guess if you want to call them that, they're just basic fantasy. You're just trying to have fun with your friends. It doesn't necessarily need to be this deep, masterfully crafted plot with these well fleshed out characters and why does
no,
every
it
single
doesn't.
goblin have attack you, and you don't necessarily need all that. Sometimes the goblin just attacks you because it's a goblin.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
true. That's true. Unlike in real life, Grimlock, where we shoot monkeys on sight, though.
Yes.
That's just a rule. So, all
Rest in
for
peace, Harambe.
yeah, Haram, indeed, sir. See, that was a nice soft handoff. I'm glad Grimlock grabbed that, dude. I'm glad. Anyway, let's move on here. Now, I want to have a little bit of good news here in the beginning because it gets a little bit
Yeah, this is
rambunctious.
good news.
Yeah. Uh,
Embracer Group acquires Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal. Includes Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. It also includes, which is more important to me, Legacy of Kain.
yeah. Did you hear about that
Yeah.
announcement, dude? Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Let's get some more Legacy of Kain, baby. I love Legacy of Kain. That's a great franchise. Way underserved ever since Square Enix has owned them. They haven't done anything with it.
No, Square
And it's just been
Enix is
sitting there.
Square Enix. But all that matters is Final Fantasy. We know this.
Yeah.
But this could be great, great news. It could be. It could be. Let's not shoot ourselves in the face. But this new Embracer group has been buying up stuff for a while now. They've been throwing a lot of money around, and of
Yep.
course, just stuff with Crystal Dynamics. Of course, Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, which is a big one, Thief, which is another really good one,
Oh
Legacy
yeah.
of Kain, very popular. The story's been quite well developed, actually.
Yeah.
So that's good. But there's other stuff going on. Now, of course, if you don't know who Embracer is, I didn't either. I thought it was a dumbass name, but they're Scandinavians. What do you want? But THQ Nordic is what it was, and I recognize that, right?
Yes.
And but they've made some acquisitions here, and I thought this was kind of interesting. Flying Hog Wild, Gearbox, interesting. Gearbox, Asper Media, don't know. 3D Realms, don't know. Slipgate Ironworks, I've heard of them. Demiurge Studios, it sounds familiar. Dark Horse, yeah, I know who they are. Perfect World Entertainment, wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's one of the early Chinese endeavors into buying up video game stuff, right? Perfect World. And I played some of the Perfect World stuff. So they've been throwing money around, dude. And there's IP there to work on, man. And this could be great. It could be great, especially with Crystal Dynamics that have had their hands tied by the goddamn Square Enix crap for quite a while. So hmm. Uh, yeah. Any opinion on this, Grimlock?
Um, I found this really interesting. I was surprised that Square Enix, sold everything off for as I would say as cheap as they did because I'm looking, just looking at the properties that they let go
Yeah.
with Crystal Dynamics and some of the stuff that they hadn't even mentioned in the. I'm like, you could have got a lot more than 300 million for this. Like, was you that desperate for cash? I mean, Square's long had it's been long known that they are not good with managing their money, and for every
Right.
One success they have another game that drives them to the verge of bankruptcy. Um, the Embracer Group, I'm also finding interesting because I did not know they had bought up that many things.
They did. There's some big
Gearbox
names
in
in there, dude.
particular, because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because Gearbox they did Borderlands back. I
Sure.
believe the first two Borderlands.
Yeah. And other stuff as well. But I did
Yeah,
to answer your question. There is a quote in here from Square Enix. They say the transaction enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. So, are they doing what Konami did?
Uh,
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know.
Because
Yeah, I
Konami
don't know what
basically
the plan
went
is.
into the gambling machine business.
Right.
Right. I'm kind of wondering what Square Enix is doing. Are they just saying, well, all we need is Final Fantasy for game stuff, and then we're going to kind of expand ourselves into other places? Interesting. Yeah, because there's some good IPs that they've let go there, but they didn't do really anything with them, dude. They just let them
No,
no,
rot
that
on the vine, really.
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Which is
Well,
ridiculous because
that's the
some of
thing
those
is,
IPs are
I
great.
don't,
mm. Say that again, Grimlock.
and I was gonna say, I know that they've made a lot of money milking Final Fantasy,
They have, yeah,
but they also almost ruined it with Final Fantasy 14 too.
yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
I would if I was them, I would suspect that you would need more than just this. I
Sure.
mean,
But keep in mind that was the biggest
I mean,
the
I
biggest comeback in history, though.
yeah,
I mean, it
and
was.
I do hope that it's different than Konami, where Konami just had somebody take over the company who hated video games and said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, well, and there is
Um,
money in the pachinko business is where they really did. They make
yeah,
pachinko machines. There's a lot of money in that business for sure because that's the legal gambling in Japan. The pachinko and
yeah.
slot machines. You can't go to an actual casino here, although they've been kind of threatening doing it for quite a while. But anyway, I thought this was great news. And You never know because all those companies there have potential. Crystal Dynamics has made a lot of great stuff that a lot of us love. And we won't mention this atrocity. We won't talk about it because they were forced to do it with a gun at their head, I guarantee you. But anyway, we'll have to just wait and see because Embracer or the I always forget their actual name. Oh yeah, THQ Nordic.
Here is my question: can Laura Croft have her boobs back?
Yeah, she should.
I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I'm tired of this anti-boob bigotry. Let's
Mm,
call it what it is. It's a bunch of BS. Talk about we can't sexualize. She's a fictional character.
yeah. Well,
What do you mean we can't sexualize her? She's not real,
I get
guys. She's
I
not a real person.
I get your point, and I don't disagree. I like the boobies as much as anyone. However, the reboot of Tomb Raider, what they were doing with that character, I didn't mind it. I thought, oh, okay, well, it looked fine to me. I understand that. You also had the
If
Tifa thing,
if I want to play a knockoff Indiana Jones game,
which
I'm
is
gonna
what it
play
is.
Uncharted because
Uh,
Uncharted's way better. It's the thing that set Tomb Raider apart was the sex appeal, right?
yeah,
I mean,
that's
yeah, I get it.
that's fair.
She's not. She's a super pixelated, especially in those old games. But that's what we had at the time, and that's what young men liked, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then you had the Angelina Jolie movies, which hit or miss, whatever you want to call them. Again, it's not like Angelina is this amazing actress, right? She's not. She's
No,
not. She's not out here breaking every possible record when it comes to acting. She's there because the
well,
men like to see her.
she physically fit that character quite well. The original
Yes.
Laura Croft, that
Yes.
is fair. Although her boobs are fake now.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's true.
which is sad.
I'm tired of this anti-boob conspiracy. I'm calling it right now.
That's fair.
Anti-boob conspiracy that's going on in modern gaming. Bring back the boobies. I
Yeah,
like
I
boobies. I
agree.
want to see boobies. We got all these physics now. We can really get them jiggling nice.
We can.
Bring
The
back the
Japanese do
boobies.
good jobs with those, man. They
They
do.
do.
They got the jiggle going on. But you know the thing about boobies, though, Grimlock? Everybody likes boobies. Even women.
Everybody, everybody likes boobies.
Even the ladies appreciate the boobies, man.
Well, I would say except for the itty bitty titty committee, they
The
hate
oppression of the
boobies.
itty bitty titty Nazis. I'm done
Oh,
with it.
no, that's
Done with
fair.
it.
Although, I've seen some girls who are smaller breasted that can be super sexy, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now the flat
It's
chesters, man, you can give a sympathy fuck from time to time.
yeah.
You
Well, I
know.
mean, I'm not a big fan of fake boobs, but in that case, I can understand. Right? If you got nothing, okay,
Yeah, that's
fine.
fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Grimlock, are you a married dude with children?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to ask because I was told the other day I'm not allowed to ask that question anymore. I don't know why. But I'm not allowed to
Why?
ask if you are married. I don't know. I was yelled at. I don't know.
By
My
by
wife, my
who?
wife just sent me the GIF of from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where Ben Affleck goes, "Please remember that these are fictional characters."
Sure.
Exactly. It's okay if they're sexy. They're not real.
Yeah,
It's okay.
that's
We're
right.
not objectifying a living person. It's literally an object. It's
Yeah,
not real.
it is an object. But whatever. The overall news. See, I didn't mind the look they had on the new Laura, though. I thought it was fine. But whatever. That's fair enough. Make her overly big. Go ahead. But
Yeah.
generally, the news I think is great. And we could get some cool stuff. Go ahead,
And
Grimlock.
you know what? If they do another Tomb Raider game and it's successful and she's got her boobies back, they could get the chick who plays Agent Carter to play her because she's got big old boobies.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I don't know who that
See,
is.
I've already got it sorted out. We've already
You
got
do.
it. The movie
Yeah.
casted everything. Just make her boobs big again. That's it. Make her boobs big again, and I'm in. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Just for that. If they do that, for that alone, they'll get my money.
Oh, there you go. All righty. Any last comments on this there, Grimlock?
Well, I guess we're just gonna have to play the wait and see game. There's a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
franchises that Square Enix gave away that people would be really happy to see come back, whether it's a new chapter in that or a remaster. There's a lot of. I mean, I would be over the moon for a Legacy of Kain remaster. You don't have to make a new one right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but if you just gave me a remaster, I'd probably cut a backflip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably, and people are chomping at the bit for new content with Legacy of Kain as well.
Oh,
And they've
bro.
already made that comment. They already made a comment on Legacy of Kain, so that's cool. What? I'm
Yeah.
interested in everything we've talked about here, but you know what I'd like to see, particularly with Perfect World, because that's an
Mm,
MMO set in the Asian fantasy setting, right? I would
yeah.
love to see them go full bore, making it that MMO again, but this time making it in the style of Moonlight Blade.
Mm,
Dude, that would
yeah.
be epic, man. Um, yeah, I played Perfect World a lot more than I probably want to admit. Yeah, back in the day, I played that game a lot. But anyway, it was fun. So cool, awesome. Let's move on here because that's fun news. I don't know how much more fun news we got though. Don't
Probably
don't
not
hold your
enough.
breath. All right,
Probably not enough.
here we go. Oh, here we go.
Oh, jeez, Trent is coming out swinging. Disney to push their pro-grooming agenda in new Disney Channel film Zombies 3. Casting SVP says goal is to, quote, build identity for children.
Okay.
What the fuck does that mean?
Well, I kind of put this, I try to put things together to make sense together. And this right here is just kind of a running theme we're getting out of Disney. They are doubling, or I don't know, what are we up to? Quintupling down? I don't know where we are, Grimlock, but
Mhm.
we're definitely beyond doubling down. And what they're doing here, they have a Zombies 3 thing. Zombie Town is some kiddie thing on Disney Channel, I guess, Disney Plus or whatever. And they're going to have they're breaking all the rules here, guys. They're going to have a non-binary character. Now,
Oh, wow.
I don't know. You guys correct me if I'm wrong because my brain gets confused at this ancient age of 50. Um, Didn't we have a word for non-binary at one time or another? Didn't we actually have readily available language?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was
What
called
word are you thinking of?
asexual. Didn't we have that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And have we not already seen asexual characters for decades upon decades? Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the difference?
I don't know.
I
It's
suppose.
not special enough.
Oh, I
There you go.
guess. Yeah.
That's a good enough answer. Yeah, it's not. They're not snowflakes. They're not snowflakey enough.
And
That's what it is.
I think,
It's not.
They don't get to be the special
yeah,
little snowflakes with their own little title. That's
yeah,
where all these little titles come from, right? Is because we have to. Everybody wants their own to be their own thing, right? Their own identity, quote unquote. Um, how about Disney? Just a thought. How about you let kids pick their own identity and just
yeah,
stop?
yeah.
Just let them
Um,
grow up. When they're about 25, 26, and about 30, they'll figure out who they are.
yeah.
Just stop.
Now, it goes deeper than that because this article does get into a thing called the Proud family, which I don't know anything about whatsoever. And that I guess that is there's a bunch of gay characters in that or something. I did see this lady speaking. She was all giddy about brainwashing kids into being gay. So, that was creepy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the most troublesome thing was her statements. I don't care if they have a non-binary, asexual character. What do I give a shit? Because it's nothing new. But this was a troublesome thing, and of course that's the problem. People working at Disney and other companies, they have an agenda, which they say very clearly out in the open. Right? They want to gay up your
Mm,
kids, and that's what this lady is saying. Go listen to it, right? So that I find a little bit troublesome. But I want to this whole nonsense. It comes down to we've already seen asexual characters before, plenty of them, but this is more about their it's about their non-binary. The whole thing is going to be about that. They have to keep telling you, telling you, and brings us back to the kind of rule number one of storytelling: show don't tell. Right, and
mm,
let me give you a perfect example of that. Would you like a good example, Thundera, of what Disney is
I
fucking
would.
up? Would you?
I
There
would
was this
very
little
much.
movie back in the 80s that was a mega hit because it touched on the heartstrings of every person. Well, everybody could relate to it. It was called Revenge of the Nerds. Right.
Mm,
And in
yeah.
this thing, you had a bunch of popular jock kids were picking on the fraternity of the nerds. And the nerds were going to get their revenge by joining the fraternity Olympics or Greek games and win it and show that they are worthy. That's it. There's your story. Done. Right. But in amongst that, who were the nerds? Well, you had a couple of them who were the genius types with the pen protector and the broken glasses, so stereotypical. Super smart guys who were just awkward socially. You had those. You had the little kid who was a genius type of trope. You had a gay guy. Right, a black gay guy actually, and they actually had to because of the limp wristedness of his arm, they had to create a special bouncing javelin so it would work properly, and they did great with that. We also had the kind of geek type of guy, and et cetera, et cetera. See, the nerds were all weird kind of outsider types, whether they be smart kids or kind of disgusting pervy guy, type of kids or gay kids or asexual kids or whatever. They kind of covered the gambit. And you know what they never did in that very very successful movie and even the franchise that continued. They never once told us, "Hey, this one's gay." You know what they did? They simply showed us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you can't do that anymore, Chester, because then you're stereotyping. You see,
I guess.
we have to pretend that people are different, but at the same time, the exact same at all times. It makes no sense. I mean, what if you want people of differing whatever identities, ethnicities, races, whatever, sexualities in media, in things, okay, but don't pretend that they're going to behave exactly the same as whatever other identity, blah 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 blah, that is also around them,
Yeah,
because that's just not how people are.
sure.
That's just not how people work.
But I'm also making the point that we've done this all before.
Yeah,
And Ogre did become a nerd in the end, Roger. Yes, he did. A proud one.
Yes, sir.
And we talk about the JJs tonight. We are, Bob. Right now, we're talking about very small peni, though, because there's no other reason you'd be asexual. Because if you actually had a functioning peni as a male, anyway, you wouldn't be asexual. You'd be using it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's very telling. It kind of groups itself. I'm sure I just triggered the hell out of Ben. Let's wait. Yeah. But anyway, it's just stupid with all this dumb stuff and then pushing agendas and all that kind of nonsense. Because if they just did it naturally, we've seen these kind of characters before. We've had asexual characters and gay
Yep.
characters and nerdy weird characters. We've had all kind of characters over many, many decades, right? It's
Yep.
nothing new. They just got to point it out and scream about it. Like I said, the only thing about this entire article that actually does worry me is listening to this woman speak. Screw it, they're gonna cut this show anyway because I put vaginas in there. I'll
Like, I
just play
love
it.
Disney's content. I grew up watching, all of the classics. They have been a huge, like, informative part of my life. But at the same time, like, I worked at small studios most of my career, and I'd heard, you hear whispers. Like, I'd heard things like, oh, they won't let you show this at a Disney show, and I'm like, okay. So I was a little like sus when I started, but then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard on my little pocket of, like, proud family Disney TVA. The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and, like, our leadership over there has been so welcoming to, like, my, like, not at all secret gay agenda. And so, like, I feel like I felt like it was, I mean, like, maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess, like, something must have happened in the last, like they're turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that, like, momentum that I felt, like, that sense of I don't have to be afraid to, like, let's have these two characters kiss, let's in the background to start, like, I was just wherever I could just basically adding queerness to, like, if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud family. But, like, I just was like, no one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, the giddy euphoria. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's as if
It's
she's not
weird.
even aware of what she's saying. And if this were some, teenage or adult TV show or something she was doing, okay, fine, right? But this is for kids programming, intentionally for little kids, right? This
Mm.
is not,
Yep.
teenagers.
Even then, it would
That's
be kind of troublesome, strictly just because why are you pumping agenda, as she literally said, her
yes,
gay agenda or any agenda,
gay agenda, yeah.
into entertainment like that? Like, what? Why is that so important to you?
Well,
Why
it
can't you
clearly
just
is.
tell good stories?
And she
Yeah,
was,
obviously. I
yeah,
mean, she was nearly orgasmic at the thought of it. It was
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Um, so why is that so important to you? Why is that something you feel you need to or should do? Why can't you just tell stories with, moral lessons and things? Why does it
Well,
why does it have to be about a political agenda or a whatever, a gay agenda, as she put? That was her words. Why?
yeah.
That's the question I'd ask her. Why is that so important to you?
No. Like I said, if she was making something more for an more adult audience, young
Yeah,
adult audience, and her intentions were, I want to make something for gay people, okay, fine.
yeah,
If
fine,
it's
cool.
successful and you make money at it, oh, awesome, have at it. But once again, it's a sexualization of kids. And
Yeah,
that's you just don't do that. And the thing is very clear that a lot of these people aren't parents.
I hope
They're
not. Good
clearly
lord.
not parents, because when you have kids, you become very protective of them. And if you
Hmm.
have kids, you also know that a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, is barely a human thing anyway. It's not what it is. Trust me, I've been teaching kids 20 years, guys. A 5-year-old barely understand what its thumb is.
You're right.
I mean, it's dumb to sexualize them, and there's a reason we don't do that because we don't want to confuse them. Because you know what, little kids like that, you know what they are? Highly impressionable.
Yes.
Highly, yeah. These
Yeah.
are monsters. That's a monster. The idea
But
of the rest of it, I
that's
don't
why they
care.
want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know they want to
That's
I agree.
that's exactly why they want to
destroy
do
the
it. I
family. That
mean,
old
I know
Marxism.
whoever. I know people who want to defend that shit, No, it's like this. Kids up until a certain age
Mhm.
don't know something's not normal until you tell them.
That's
That's
right.
how it is. It's like I've mentioned before. It's like you didn't know you didn't know your family was poor until the other kids started fucking with you about being poor.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
That's
no,
how
that's true. Yeah,
and that's how it goes with everything else.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and
So if you
and
start telling kids complete nonsense, they'll believe it because it's easier to get a 5-year-old to believe Santa Claus is real than a 13-year-old.
oh my
It's
goodness,
just
yeah. And there's the age you just mentioned, 13, 14. So your second year of junior
yeah,
high or your first year of high school. This is an age right here where the kids are all of a sudden their brains have changed and they understand the concept of time and their place in it. They're actually kind of more functioning human now. And this is when you can start talking to them about sex education and things like that. Because, I am a proponent. I do think you need to tell kids at that age you need to talk to them about sex because we have statistics very clear that when you do talk to them at a younger age instead of waiting to like second, third, fourth year of high school, you have much lower teenage pregnancy.
Mm.
It's very clear. Therefore, you
Hmm.
should do that, but you got to do it at the right time. When are they capable of understanding? Because telling a kid that, even a really, really precocious one, an actual kid, right, a prepubescent, telling
Hmm.
them that they don't really get it because children until they get around 12, their brain doesn't adapt itself. They don't actually understand their place in time yet. They don't. So therefore, it's very difficult for a child to make proper decisions that impact positively their future because they don't understand future yet. That's a really
Right.
important thing to understand about little kids. They don't understand time. And if you don't understand time, how do you understand mercy? How do you understand caution or fear even?
Mm.
Right? It's a very important thing, and this is the major issue for me because the whole idea of creating gay content and stuff like that, as long as it's age appropriate, go ahead. If you're successful, good. If you're not, then it's not. I don't have a problem with that particularly, but this lady. Because she's talking about little kids. We're not talking about 16-year-old, 18-year-old kids. That's not what she's talking about. She's talking about 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. That's what she's on about here. And that's freaking twisted, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, I agree. I actually agree with a lot of what Florida has done, partially in response to this, but also with other reasons. I don't know why Disney continuously quadruples down on it
Hmm.
when they've lost an obscene amount of money in their stock price in the
Say so.
last month or
Yeah.
so. But they keep going. They keep pushing. So apparently they don't care. I don't know. It's a bad. I think it's a fight worth having, and I think most parents would agree with what you just said.
Hmm.
I think most Americans would probably agree with what you just said.
Most
I
humans.
don't think it's. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's controversial at all, and I find it fascinating that people pretend that it is.
Yeah.
To say, hey, how about we just don't talk about sex with kids? Just
Sure.
maybe we don't do that. Any sex. Period.
Yeah.
Just not at
Sure.
all.
The great thing though, you can just simply not watch Disney.
Oh, and I have.
That's the easiest answer in the world. Just don't watch
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
Fair
Don't show it
enough.
to your kids.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
You know, and it is kind of a shout out, and I'm kind of
I think they
wondering.
keep doubling down on
They do, but I'm kind of wondering
this.
because here's the thing, Grimlock, and I'm sure we all know this. This is not a shocking statement. A lot of parents are not good parents. You know,
Correct.
I'm not going to say what percentage it is because I don't know. But we know that we've all met bad parents. They're just dumb people and they don't really
Yeah.
know what they're doing. They're
Yeah,
not really taking their job seriously, right? We all know that exists. And but what I feel like there's been a shift in the West where parents are taking more heavy involvement in being a parent.
Good.
So maybe it's a positive thing coming out of this.
Good. That's what we should want.
yeah. COVID. People,
Yeah. I
those
think
kids,
that is a
a
Yeah,
big
lot of
part of
those
it.
parents,
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
a lot,
Yeah.
a lot of
I
those
think they
parents.
got stuck with their kids and they're like, all right, you are a little brat, so I'm going to parent you now.
yeah, right. Yeah.
No, not just that. I think it's the first time in a while they actually got to see up close
Mhm.
what what was actually in front of their kid's face.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna make this. It's an older reference, but there was an episode of South Park where Mr. Garrison was trying to get himself fired intentionally
Yes.
for being gay,
Right.
and he kept doing outlandish shit in front of the kids, and the kids was reacting to it, and everybody just dismissed them as them being homophobic. And then it wasn't until the parents themselves saw it, they're like, "Wait a minute, this is what Stan and Kyle was talking about."
Yeah.
It's and it is for that because like and to go back to Disney, I think the reason that they keep doubling and tripling down is unfortunately you have a lot of people that are in high up positions because like that nutcase woman, that's not just like a normal employee. She's not just some writer. No, she's got a pretty high position there,
She's a showrunner.
and she can keep getting enough people's ears to act like, oh no, what we're doing the right thing. The blowback is just some, the same tropes they always thought. It's just those Bible thumpers in the South and the homophobes. It's not the majority of the country, which it actually is.
Sure. And if we look worldwide, it has nothing to do with religion at all, dude. It has
No.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It has to do with simply the safety and education and uprearing of their children. It's not a religious issue.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's move on from this ridiculous nonsense because Disney, what are you doing, man? Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. See, we were waiting for this. Chester and I talked about it a little bit already. Our old friend Booster was watching this and basically telling us some of the things that happen.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen it because I'm not giving the mouse my money. Grimlock's the same, but if, and I have no reason to believe Booster was lying to me about it. I don't know why he would. If what I heard about the Illuminati and Scarlet Witch is true, I'm not going to spoil it, but just it's just a long. It's all so tiresome. It's that meme.
Yeah.
It's just so it's dumb. It's stupid. It doesn't make any actual sense when you again. This is one of Marvel's biggest problems with these movies as of late, especially if you just take a step back and think. It doesn't make sense. Why would this person allow this to happen or do this thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of
What
stupidity in it. There is.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it either, nor will I watch it. I've seen a full breakdown spoiler review on it, however, so I know everything that happens in the movie, and I'm just basically justified be not watching it. Because when you go look at the reviews, even the ones who are very pro Disney, it's kind of like, meh, it's not the greatest Disney movie. It's the greatest Marvel movie. Meh, meh. You get a lot of meh, right? And
Yeah.
then the people who are actual Marvel fans hate this thing, dude. It's not really doing well in that department. It's made a little bit of money, but it's not going to make more money going forward because the reviews coming out and people they don't like it, right? So it's not going to make the big bucks they need it to make. Although a lot of
Mm.
people pointed out the point, interesting point that this movie isn't intended to be a big money maker. It's more of an anchor point movie, and I'm like, okay, well that might be true. So
Sure.
maybe they don't actually care. But yeah, I'm not going to watch this. I have no interest in watching this. The first Doctor Strange movie was fine. It's not Doctor Strange, but whatever. I enjoyed it well enough. I don't need to torture myself. And the problem is with me with Marvel is I might be at the Star Wars capacity. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I am.
Yeah.
Uh, with the things that I've seen, the spoilers I've seen about the stuff that happens in this movie alone, that was enough for me to be right back to where fuck the MCU. I'm done.
Yeah. Uh, you know,
It's just so dumb. It's
yeah.
so dumb.
Now, I think there's definitely when the little tidbit scenes cuts, like the 10-minute, 5-minute scene cuts come out, I bet you there's
Yeah.
some set pieces that are gorgeous, though. I imagine that's
Sure.
true. But honestly, I as soon as I saw that the writer of Loki was the one writing it. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. And so I don't know if the chat doesn't seem to have an opinion on it. It's just another thing. But Grimlock, I think Moon Knight broke my back on it, dude. It's so bad. It's enraging how bad Moon Knight is, dude. So
Um,
Yeah.
WandaVision was the straw that broke this camel's back.
yeah, it was bad, dude.
It wasn't even that it was bad; it was the refusal to do the right story.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
That's the part that because I will say it. Episodes 3 through 8, I thought was great. Episode
Yep.
8, and look, you can you can sympathize with the villain's motives
Sure.
and still acknowledge that what they're doing is fucking horrible.
Right.
And to me, that's what episode 8 for WandaVision was. It's like I can understand.
Right.
They're showing the breakdowns of her constantly losing every and anything that she's ever loved, but it still doesn't excuse what she's doing.
Right. And this
And to
movie
just
does
turn it around and make it like she did something noble, it's just like
Yes.
I'm out. Why
this
would you?
movie
Why even bother?
no, I agree with you, dude, but this movie does seem to lean into that though. Go ahead, Thunder.
Well, and the worst part about that for me is it comes out of Monica Rambeau's mouth. So you just shit on that character too, because
Oh
now
God!
she's a completely amoral moron.
Right. That is true.
So,
That is
so
true.
you have Wanda who's being Scarlet Witch, and I'm fine with. I'm actually mostly fine with her characterization. I think they've actually done a great job with her arc insofar as they turned her into what they turned her into. The problem is the justification and the lack of vilification of it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's if they could just let her be and just stop with this like trying to. WandaVision's a perfect example. At the end of that, they try to justify it. They try to band-aid it. They try to soothe it. And no,
Right.
what she did was fucked up.
Yeah,
Was
she was
fucked up.
yeah.
And
She
that's how
was.
it should have been presented. That's how it should have been reacted to.
And
And
they do acknowledge this in this movie, so at least you have that.
yeah,
Yeah. But really, I put this up here not for her acknowledgement that Scarlet Witch did some bad stuff, but basically to tell her if she ever hears me through the ether, yeah, you're not the open booby girl. That's not who you are. You shouldn't dress like
unfortunately,
this. You shouldn't dress
Miss
like
Olsen.
this. You're not a sexy one. You're not a sexy one. Please stop. Please stop. Grimlock, help me out here. Have you ever seen someone more who should not have open breast night? Maybe Betty White, and she's dead.
Uh, Paris Hilton.
Oh yeah, the skeleton girl. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, but when I saw this photo, I was like, ooh, girl, cover them titties up. But
Elizabeth is not bad looking. I
yeah,
just think her sisters going down the path they did, and like now when you see her, you see them, so it's like
yeah, but the skull head, dude,
uh,
the skull head.
dude, yeah.
Yeah, no. But whatever. At least they did acknowledge the fact that yeah, that was pretty messed up. But it's just so many other dumb things, and we talked about this before the show, and this is the thing I'm hearing from people because, like I said, even the ones who are very pro Disney, this is kind of a meh movie to them. But the big problem this movie has is this. Disney has this rule, or Kevin Feige has it, or whatever it is, that the men cannot defeat women. It's not allowed, right? So they painted themselves into a corner, and she just rides roughshod across the entire Marvel universe because she's a female that can't be beaten by men. And this is a silly little thing they put in, and they painted themselves in a corner because if they had her to get dropped down, then they would the people they're making the movie for would be screaming at them. The problem is they're making these movies for a group of people who don't really have the money necessary to sustain these kind of movies. and every one of these they make and come out with make less money. Now, keep in mind, Spider-Man is a Sony movie, and Sony gets it right every 8 to 10 movies they get one right. So whatever. But I just have a feeling that Disney's MCU stuff and Star Wars stuff, it's just going to make less money, less money, less money, less money. We're already seeing that happen. We're already seeing it happen. So they're just shooting themselves in the foot because the general audience is just not interested. They want to, and especially when you look at a film like this, what's the title of the film, Grimlock?
Is he there?
I don't know.
This is
By
a
the way,
multitude of madness, right?
Doctor
Multiverse of
Strange.
madness.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
In the multiverse of
multiverse.
madness, Doctor Strange. And once again, Doctor Strange is not the hero of the movie. And we've seen this happen many times recently, have we not? Where the hero of the movie or the TV show
Oh yeah.
is not the actual hero. Because he isn't. Just a spoiler, big, huge spoilers. Doctor Strange does not save the day in this. He does not.
have a man save the day? Are you kidding me? Are you a white man?
In
No,
his own movie.
no,
Yeah.
we can't be having that.
So, in all honesty, they should have called this the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, and just had him be in the movie because that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, well, he was in the
Yeah, just call it
Spider-Man movie.
Scarlet Witch in the multiverse of madness. I don't understand why it needed to be a Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah,
Or you could have just called it Marvel Multiverse of Madness. Like, there you go.
I mean, he's in it plenty enough. More spoilers, he dies a lot. But he's not your hero. He doesn't save the day because he's incapable of doing so. But like I said, I really think I'm out on all this stuff because we had a good 20 some movies that were overall were pretty fun. And they were just normal storytelling. I mean, sure, they had a little thing here or there, but who cares? It was fine. It was entertaining. It was popcorn
Yep.
movies, and I'm good with that. I'm good with it because I don't need a Spider-Man, multiverse, whatever they call that movie. I don't need that Doctor Strange, dude. That is an idiot moron. That's not Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's kind of like Thor. I would love to have a good Doctor Strange movie, just like I'd like to have a good Thor movie. Still haven't yet.
Yeah,
Just
no,
haven't.
we
I
haven't
mean,
had a good
the
Thor
first
movie,
Doctor
that's for
Strange
sure.
movie is fine for what it is, but that's not Doctor Strange. That's not the Sorcerer Supreme that I've read. That's not the one I know.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near powerful enough, and he doesn't do anywhere near half the stuff that he
Yeah, but
does.
he makes mistakes that Strange would never make. I mean,
Yes.
he is the MacGuffin, right?
Yeah.
But whatever. The Thor thing. Like the new movie coming up, Love and Thunder, is basically supposed to be the God Butcher. But it looks like they've just slapped another dozen dumb ideas on top of it. If they had done the straight God Slayer, which I would have done in a Disney Plus show, to be honest with you, over 8 episodes, 10 episodes. But if they had done that straight up, oof, that would have been a good show, right? Straight up, Godslayer. And that there's an arc there for Thor. Heaven forbid, Grimlock. But whatever. Yeah, I'm kind of done, dude. So whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm out. I'm out. It's a shame. Like you said, we got about 20 some movies out of them that are really good.
Yeah.
And well, not all of them are really good, but a few of them are really good. And they've just completely jumped the shark,
Yeah,
and now it's just nonsense. You can't even have a female who's clearly evil and doing terrible things. She still can't be beaten by a man. Like that can't. We're not having that.
And they just painted themselves in that stupid corner. But the thing is, we're talking about the phase 1, 2, 3 with Marvel. In general, for especially us comic book guys, it definitely scratched that itch, though. And I'm happy to have them. I am happy to have them. But I just don't really need more, I guess, because it's
especially
just nonsense.
Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Oh, great movie.
First Captain America movie, I still really like that. First Iron Man is, it's the one that's the most rewatchable of the MCU. Is the first Iron Man, in my opinion, because it's not made by the formula. The formula hadn't even been created yet.
Yeah.
Um,
I love the
let's
little
see what else
Ant-Man
we got.
movie. That was fun.
Yeah, Ant-Man's fun. It's all right. So I liked most of Civil War. I just think it was largely there
Yeah,
was problems with it.
they could have handled it better. True.
Yeah, I
But
liked Black Panther in Civil War. He was way better in that movie than he was in his own.
that's true.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then obviously Infinity War was spectacular. It
That
was
was a really good movie, yeah. But they keep in mind whatever phase number they're up to, we will eventually start getting into the X-Men, and who knows, they might write it. How dare I say such a stupid thing? But because when I have a feeling they're not going to integrate the X-Men. I really don't think they are. I think they're going to keep it as just a little side thing they're going to throw on Stars or Hulu. I kind of
interesting.
think
That
that's
would
where we're
be.
going to
I
end up.
mean, that would be a terrible decision, but I could see them doing it.
Yeah.
Um, the way to integrate it was to do the Reverse House of M, and they've completely butchered that. So,
They missed the opportunity, didn't they? Because when
yep,
WandaVision came out, that's what I thought they were doing. I figured we were going to be
yep,
introduced to mutants right there, but
yep. It
they
would have made
didn't.
sense.
They just she's just abusing people and creating fake children. Anyway, moving
Oh,
on.
it's
Uh,
terrible stuff.
it is terrible.
Absolutely abysmal stuff, man.
You want happiness? I
Alleged
got
casting.
happiness.
Let's see it. Alleged casting call claims to reveal multiple characters, including a longtime Batman villain for HBO Max's Penguin series. Now,
Ooh, did
I
they?
don't hate the idea of a Penguin series. I
I
just don't know
love
where
it.
that goes. Where does that go?
Well, they could use him as a pivot point to Gotham outside of Batman, right? Batman's the
Yeah,
shadow thing, like Pattinson played him. And what you have is just kind of introduction to Gotham via Penguin, because Penguin isn't this big super evil dude. It's not what he is. He's an opportunist, right?
yeah,
He's a businessman, really. He'll bend them rules, right?
right.
So having him as kind of a center point to the underworld of Gotham could be great, dude. And I
Yeah,
absolutely adore Colin Farrell in the character. It's almost as if
fantastic.
the ether heard me.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic as the Penguin.
Yes, he is.
Um, I loved every scene he was in. He
Yep.
was just the right amount of sleazy, but also charming,
Oh yeah,
which is Penguin.
he was awesome.
Uh, yeah, it's great. That's why I like the idea, mainly, especially if we're going to get more of him as Penguin. I love that idea. You could do a whole like crime drama centered around him and his antics. Yeah, that sounds cool. The problem is what do you do with Batman? Is it before Batman's shown up? Is it after? Because I doubt you're going to get Pattinson. Well, maybe you will, but I doubt you're going to get Pattinson to show up
No,
in that show.
I would just have Batman as shadow thing in the background. I wouldn't really have him in the show at all.
Yeah, you could.
I really wouldn't, because obviously he's going to step into Falcone's shoes, clearly,
Right.
and they're hinting at Clayface, dude.
Now that could be interesting because I know a lot of people. One of the reasons they dislike this new Batman, which I think is silly, but one of the reasons they dislike this new Batman is because it's too grounded. So that they're worried that the fantastical, like Clayface, which is a very fantastical villain, um, wouldn't make sense or would have to be shoehorned in, or they just would never do it. Because
Right.
I would love a Clayface movie with
Mm,
against Batman. That would be fat. I love Clayface. I think he's a very underserved villain.
right.
It would kind of be interesting to do like a where Batman has a few villains, but not. There's a way to do it that isn't Batman Forever. Right? There's a way to do it where there's a couple guys who he has to deal with, like you could do something with Clayface and Killer Croc,
Yeah.
and then obviously Penguin too, being the crime boss. You could do something like that that could be interesting, depending on what the story is, depending on the story you're telling.
Mhm.
The one of the things I did like about the new Batman movie is Penguin's in it, but he's not really a main character. Falcone's in it. He is a main character, but you don't know that at first. Stuff like that, right? It did very good world building,
Mhm.
and I appreciate that. I appreciate the hell out of that. So you could do something really cool with a Batman movie where he's going up against Clayface and Croc and Penguin for whatever reason, right? You can come up with a myriad of reasons why he has to deal with all three of them at once, and they may not even be allies. He just has to deal with all three of them at once for differing things,
Sure.
which the last Batman movie showed. You can kind of have him juggle different responsibilities a bit.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I agree. And also with Penguin, it's not like he's going to be able to take Falcone's business just automatically. He's going to have to
right.
fight for it. So you
Yeah,
have
it's
that
going to be a war.
aspect. We don't need Batman at all, to be honest with you.
Well,
But
and then the other one, what's his name? The other crime boss. And they say him in the movie. I can't ever remember his name. Not Falcone, but the other one. He's still alive in the universe. He's in jail, so
right,
he could get out, and
Talking about
there you
Maroni.
go.
Maroni,
Yeah,
yeah,
Maroni.
Maroni.
He could get out, and then there you go. Now you have Penguin versus Maroni for control of the underworld, and that could be interesting.
It could
That could
be.
be interesting.
And keep in mind with the Batman, even though we were dealing with the Riddler, who's just a down to earth human, he doesn't have any special powers.
Yeah.
That movie at the same time though didn't say or show or hint in any way that supernatural was not available.
No, not
It
at all.
didn't.
Hmm.
And I think Clayface would be great. I mean, I haven't seen Clayface in a live action. Have you?
No,
Yeah.
it would be hard to pull off. You'd have to get the CG right. Obviously, it'd be CG'd. Um, but as long as they got the CG right and they, gave him something to do that Clayface would do, right? One of the things with the Riddler's characterization in that movie is it's a little bit more aggressive than Riddler typically is, but that version of Riddler, they made it make perfect sense
Yeah.
why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
This is a time where I'm going to contradict what I said earlier. This is a time where I do want to understand the villain because they presented me a mystery, so I wanted that mystery solved. Um, if you come at me with just a basic go kill the dragon story,
Right.
then I don't really need to know the motivations of the dragon. I just want the guys to go kill the dragon. If you come at me with a story that's presenting me a murder mystery, which is what that movie is, I need to know. I need that mystery solved, and that's two differing ways of handling villains.
Sure.
But I think the Riddler's characterization, while much more brutal than I think any comic book Riddler or most comic book Riddlers, um, was very good. And I do something really interesting with Clayface because
could be.
Clayface could be a very tragic character if you played him right.
Sure, and it could be really interesting. And Elrod, I agree with that. It probably is just simply finishing off Colin Farrell's contract, but he was the highlight of that movie. Everyone's talking about his Penguin, dude.
He was great.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was
You,
very good.
you have any opinion on this, Grimlock? No.
I kind of laugh at the people who are worried about the last Batman movie being too grounded because I'm thinking this is the same universe where like Thundaro said characters like Clayface and Solomon Grundy exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
I love Solomon
um
Grundy.
I, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would do it, but
That
I
would
would
be
like to see
cool.
some
That's
Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, that'd be more Superman, though, wouldn't
Um,
it?
Well, Batman's fought him a few times too.
Yeah, but it
Dealt
just
with him.
feels more Superman-y. But no, I agree. Solomon Grundy
but
would be cool. But I think taking Penguin and really kind of fleshing out their world with him would be a
Yeah,
smart move.
through his eyes. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be interesting.
it would be a smart
It would
move.
also give us a break from Bruce, and hopefully the next time we see Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, he's more Bruce Wayne. He's
Yeah,
much less brooding and things like he is in that movie, and he's come into his own and started to take his responsibility as the prince of the city more seriously.
hmm
And I think that was kind of a subtext that he
it
kind of
was.
learned, and he kind of says it.
It
So
was.
hopefully that character development goes through. I have been hearing rumors that the studio isn't happy with how much money it made. They wanted it to make more,
hmm
so that there might be some meddling from the studio. I really hope not, because I think if they remember, Batman Begins didn't make a ton of money either, and then The Dark Knight at one time was the most successful superhero movie ever made.
Sure.
So maybe just chill out and let him work because he's
Yeah.
shown you he can do this. So let him build you a profitable little Batman universe and
Sure.
just move on with your life.
You
Just
gotta
just stop. Warner Brothers, for God's sake, stop trying to control everything.
right.
Just stop.
You gotta earn it, right? Just like
Yes.
with the series there we had with Batman, it made more money each time. That's normal if it's good.
Yes.
So why not make Clayface more grounded and not a giant kaiju? Elrod says, "Well, there's no way you're going to you can ground him 100%. It's just not possible. He
Yeah.
is a altered human. He just
Right.
is. So, I would assume, Elrod, that he will definitely be to save money. He will most of the time you see him on screen, he will be in some form, in some human form,
Right.
right? And you won't see him in his Clayface thing very much at all. I'm sure they'll do that. So there's a way to ground it, I guess. But no, if you do Clayface, you got to do Clayface. You can't. There's no way around it. What is he going to
Yeah.
be? The Phantom of the Opera?
He
Well,
just
I mean,
puts
because
on
he's an
masks.
actor,
That's
right? I mean, it's his whole
puts on
thing.
clay masks and
Well,
acts.
it depends on which Clayface, because if I'm not mistaken, there's like 7 of them.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking of the original there, our Carlo, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, cool. Not even for the whole Clayface thing, just for more Colin Farrell's Penguin because it was freaking awesome. It was awesome.
It was.
And
It was
and
spectacular.
it
That
was.
scene that we all saw in the trailer, where he's chasing him in the Batmobile and then he crashes and he thinks he got the Batman and he jumps over the fire and jumps out of his car and just walks towards him real slow. That all of that, even the part you don't see in the trailer right after that, is just mwah. It's
Yeah, it was good.
flawless
It was good.
cinematography. It's his acting is perfect. Colin Farrell, like it's just he's such a scumbag. He's such a sleaze, but you just kind of root for him a little
You
bit
do.
because even though he's a sleaze, he's still got a code and he
He
sticks
does.
to it.
He does. Well, like that scene where Batman and uh, the chief there were talking to him, and
Yeah,
even in that, he's like, "Who do you think I am? I'm not that much of a criminal." Right? I
right.
mean, these little kind of comments he's making here, there, you bastards, untie me, right? I mean, it's just he did a great job. So I'm excited about this. It could be fun. It could be a lot of fun, especially where they getting the original character back. We'll see. But I thought this was a little fun interlude in between stupid because I have more stupid.
More stupid is inbound. VTuber Kusariko, I think is how you say that,
Hmm.
leaves agency after accusing Dakimura retail site of selling, quote, porn of a minor. Well, that's a good reason to leave an agency.
Well,
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What this
if it's
article,
true.
yeah, what this article is about, once again, is the Daimakura. The Dutch wives, those pillows with sexy girl pictures on front and back.
Yes.
It's about Dai Makura. Again, they really I don't know. You would think that would be something right up the alley of the progressive, but they don't care for them. And I think in particular they're talking about some character Jinx from League of Legends. And I guess Jinx is supposed to be a kid. And I did see the Arcane, even though I could barely stomach it. And it is a kid character that's on that's naked, I guess, on one of these Daimakura, is what upset her.
Oh
Okay,
my.
fair enough. But here's the thing, though. Japanese don't give a shit. They
Uh,
don't. Now I
yeah,
know
because they're a
you.
culture of pedos. You
Yeah,
got
well,
it.
I understand you will, and being an American, I get it too. But the Japanese can very easily distinguish between real and fantasy. You see,
Hmm.
and if you went and asked anybody about the idea of Dai Makura and these kind of youngish-looking girls, although keep in mind that is a Western character, a lot of the Japanese characters may look young, but they're probably 30, right? In story, but whatever, that doesn't matter. But the for the Japanese people, it's not real, and they might think it's creepy and weird, and get it away from me. But it's not real. Therefore, they don't yell and scream and say no, you can't do that because it's not real. And although I do understand your take on it, because I am an American, I was raised in a Protestant environment, right? I kind of get the Japanese take on it. And the thing with it is, it doesn't matter how many of you quit or scream and yell about these kind of hentai aspects of Japanese culture. They don't give a shit what you think, dude. They really don't. You're wasting your effort, little girl, because they don't care what you do. You can quit all you want. Yep, there's someone waiting right behind you, dude. So, I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I thought it was funny that the Daimakura showed its ugly head again, Grimlock.
I see.
Yeah. I didn't even know
Well,
these things existed until we covered some creepy story for Booster a couple years back. Because for me, they were always called Dutch wives, right? Dutch wives. But I didn't even know that Daimakura was a thing, but it is. Would you guys buy one of these things?
nah, that's not my thing.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But anyway, I mean, so her getting upset about this young Jinx character being done nude on a pillow, I get that. I get it. But my point for it was that yeah, you're really not going to get any movement on this here in Japan. They really don't give a shit. Because another really important part of Japanese culture that maybe Westerners don't get, privacy is everything. It is everything, dude. And they will go to great lengths to protect your privacy. Now, if you're actually out there hurting a child, you will get found and you will disappear into the system, right? For sure. But beyond that, real is real, fantasy is fantasy, and your privacy cannot be infringed here. And I don't know, is that a bad thing? Hmm. No comments across the board. But I get the Western take on it. Like I said, I was raised Protestant. It is creepy to me too. But this lady here, Kusuriko, which I don't think she's actually Japanese. I think she just took a Japanese name. That it isn't going to change, man. It isn't
Okay,
going to
I'm back.
change.
Sorry.
Yeah,
The wife needed me suddenly.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the Japanese are wrong. Simple as that. Some cultures are just wrong, and sexualizing children, even in animation or fake things, is just wrong. Period. End
Yep.
of.
No, I agree. I
Simple as
agree.
that.
But
They're not going to change, and I'm not
no,
going to demand that they change, but they're still wrong.
yeah. Now,
Simple as that.
and do keep in mind that the average Japanese finds that disgusting too, right?
Good.
They
They
do.
should. They
But
should.
it's the matter of privacy and the fact that it's not actually
It's a
real.
very weird dichotomy because, like you were saying, if anybody gets caught actually engaged in these things, they
Oh yeah,
get, you know,
Ooh,
severely punished. I think.
not good.
I think I looked this up before, and the last public execution that Japan did was a
Yeah,
pedophile rapist.
I'm sure it was.
Um, so they take it very seriously legally. I just don't understand how their brain doesn't make the connection that they might understand that it's not real, but pedo freaks are fantasizing as if it's real.
Sure,
Hence why
but
they look at it.
keep in
And then
mind.
that fantasy becomes an addiction, and then that addiction becomes action. If you tolerate pedophilia and pedophilic nonsense, you will create more pedophiles.
Right.
You will foster their growth because what you allow, what you permit, is what continues. Now,
Well,
Japan doesn't really have that problem,
no, they don't.
and that's very strange psychologically as a human being, but or as a human society. But I think it's because they have. It's not that they don't have a pedophilic problem. I think they do. They don't have a child molestation problem
No.
because there's such a other cultural factors that would prevent anybody from even attempting that, like
Well,
publicly executing them for one, and two, um, the shame mechanics in the
sure.
culture are so
Well,
severe and insane to a Westerner, where people are killing themselves like crazy because of it.
mhm,
Uh, I think that's one of the main reasons it doesn't boil up into action.
right.
Is there's so much social and societal and quite literally physical costs
Mhm,
to going after that desire, to trying to
right.
fulfill that lust.
Well,
And I honestly think that's a good thing. I honestly think they're still wrong regardless.
yeah.
Simply because you they don't live in a vacuum. So there's other cultures outside of theirs that see these things, and as we see over here in the West, they don't have the same ability that the Japanese do.
Mhm.
And I just don't. It's just it's
Well,
like
make
it's
make
kind of like if you had a culture that had cannibalism in it, right? Where cannibalism
yes. Papua New
was
Guinea.
was was permitted. Well, a real culture where cannibalism was permitted, and people outside of it didn't understand it. Should they be forced to change that? Probably not. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't They shouldn't. There shouldn't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Not consequences, but there shouldn't be consideration of why that is. Why other people find it so abhorrent. Now, I would say with cannibalism, they probably should be forced to change it if you want to interact in the public space.
Well,
But
and if
you get my meaning.
if you had rampant sexual abuse of minors, that should be stopped too. But
Yes. Well,
there's
that's the other problem, though, is we in the West do have that
you
problem.
do,
It's a
and
serious problem,
but
and we
there's
need to
some.
take it more seriously, like the Japanese do. I think, to be
Well,
honest.
yeah, and of course, bad people get killed. But there's another factor here that plays into it in a very large way.
Mm.
This same conversation we're having about Japan could apply to Korea, to China,
Yep.
Mongolia,
Yep.
Vietnam, Thailand. Sexual assaults in Asia are very low comparatively,
Yep.
and and why? Well, because the testosterone level of the Oriental man is quite low, right?
Yep.
Whereas white men are much higher, and then as they tan, it gets higher.
Yeah. They
Um,
tan.
well, I was trying to be, diplomatic, but it does. And of course, as the T levels go up, sexual crime goes up, violent crime goes up, right? That's another thing here in
unless
Asia, you
there
don't
is
have a lot of
something,
violent crime.
to abet it. And so, like, a good example, until very recently, Sweden didn't really have problems with that. I mean, they
No,
did, but not like they do now.
no.
They had a culture that was obviously extremely
They they let 10
punishing.
people in Thundera.
That's what I was getting to. They don't have in the other culture that they let in. They don't have that punishing mechanism. They don't see it as big of a
No,
problem as
unless
others.
you're assaulting another Muslim, and that's one
Right.
of the big problem when you're getting into that mid-range hand. They if you're not a Muslim, they can do whatever they want to you. That's a problem.
So here's my
When God
compromise
says
for
it's okay, that's a problem.
here's my compromise. You ready?
Yeah,
If we can start hanging pedophiles publicly,
yeah.
you can have all the weird sex pillows you want. I don't care. But until we get there in America, no, you don't get no weird sex pillows.
Mhm. I need to
That
go
seems
grab.
like it works in Japan. It works in Japan.
It does work. Yeah. But I need to get a pack of cigarettes. So Grimlock, please elucidate us upon your opinion.
Pack of cigarettes. um, I could say to this whoever this VTuber is, you felt that strongly about it, so kudos to you sticking to your principles. I can always respect that. Even you know, Japan's a weird place. So all I can say is somebody who's not from there, looking from the outside in. That's always some of their aspects of their culture is always going to come off as weird to me.
Yeah.
Not into the whole body pillow thing or the 3,000-year-old demon girl that looks like she's 12. I mean, for those who are into that shit, I guess hooray for you. That's not nah, not for me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
It is.
I don't know why. There's a saying, right? Be open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brain falls out. And I think
Yeah.
that's where what I think we might have hit that wall here a bit. Um, I get it, and I think if they had the cultural predation on children problem that we have in the West and that they have in other parts of the world, and it's not as bad in the West as other parts of the world, not even close, but it is still rough in many places of the West. Um, I think they probably would have a much different take because Japan is a very conservative
Oh
place,
no, they
and
wouldn't. Yeah, you're right.
I think the only reason they're so permissive of it is because they don't have that problem.
It's hardly.
So,
I mean,
like I said, I'll take that compromise. If we
Right.
get to take pedos out and hang them in public till they're dead, you can have all the weird sex pillows you want.
Right. Well, I mean,
Works.
every time a pedo gets arrested here in Japan, it makes national news every time, and it only
Yeah.
happens every 5 to 8 years.
I think it
So
was like 8 years ago, the last
yeah,
one, because
it's
I looked it up before, and it was like the last execution or something
yeah,
was I could be wrong about that, but I remember looking it up at one point, and that's what it was about.
yeah, it is super rare. But I can give you a personal example that of because I am an American, right?
Yep.
And I'll never completely adapt to the environment here in certain ways. This is one of them. Like I got this kid in my class, right? She is what is she now? 8, I
Hmm.
think 8. But she's been with me for 3 years. She's came in kindergarten, right? I think she was 5 or 6. She's been with me 2 or 3 years. I think closer to 3. And good kid, good standard Japanese kid. She actually does do the homework and et cetera, et cetera. She's a good kid. But sometimes the kids here will wear their kind of favorite shirt or type of thing often, right?
Hmm.
Even though because I am a private school owner, um, I tend to get the richer clientele of the population, right?
Sure.
So it's not like she doesn't have more clothing, but she has a shirt she really loves, right? And she wears it to class, and it's no issue for anybody other than me. Even my wife looks at me sideways because I don't like it. And it's basically just got one of these kind of little anime type characters. It actually looks a little bit like this one here I saw. This one here. Like
Hmm.
this one. A little different, but like this one. This style of, we call it a chibi, I guess. But it's a little chibi girl, and she's just kind of bending down, being all cute with her little mini skirt, and her panties are showing on the shirt. Now I get it. There is nothing sexualized about it. This is the person who created it, the people who like it. It's not sexualized at all. It's just a little bit weird for me that you're representing a little girl showing her panties. I don't. It's weird. But then again, I thought the copper tone girl was weird back when I was a kid. I was like, why are we showing this kid's ass? But
Yeah.
anyway, so there's a little bit of that cultural aspect too, because here you have a little girl wearing something that's maybe innocently sexualized, but it's still a little kid wearing something that I wouldn't let my daughter wear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to explain it. And like I said, there is no sexual application to that shirt either. It's just cute. And I think there's a
Right.
little bit of that going on as well. But whatever this Jinx character from League of Legends, fully naked, and she's supposed to be like a kid. Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, let's move on. I just thought it was interesting that Dai Makura came up again, dude. How many times have we talked about these named Dai Makura?
Too many.
A lot,
Too
dude. They
many.
don't like them. They do not like them, dude. Anyway, let's keep moving along with this kind of theme.
The Writers Guild of America encourages Hollywood to boycott pro-life states. You know what? As a pro-life state resident, please, thank you. We don't need your bullshit. Thank you.
That's
We'll
true,
make our own.
Alpha.
We
Yeah,
will make
no.
our own.
Now I chose this one because I just thought it was funny. But everybody and their brother has an opinion on this freaking topic, and therefore
Yeah.
this is why we're
Oh,
talking about vaginas. But no, seriously, we kind of already have a little bit, but this is the lead. That was the lead up, right? Because it's just as stupid and disgusting as the previous story, is it not?
Yep.
Everybody has a goddamn opinion. Everybody is I'm not going to do work with him. I'm not going to. And it's like, great. Thank you very much, Writers Guild of America. Please do this. Please, I beg you to boycott, because we really need a larger number of Americans saying fuck you and burn you down by not spending their money on your shit. Please do
Yep.
this, because the cacophony of stupidity coming out of this whole Roe versus Wade thing is insane. Especially, people don't understand Roe versus Wade at all. Didn't you
no,
No.
study it in
no.
fucking school? It's weird to me because Roe versus Wade had really nothing to do with abortion directly. It was about privacy issues, is what
Hmm.
Roe versus Wade was. And it was a bad law anyway. Shouldn't have been. It's not even supposed to be a law. They're goddamn Supreme Court. It's not the
That's right.
legislator. And sending it back to the state is the way to do it anyway. But it's just
Or
so
even to the
much
legislature,
insanity, dude.
even to the House and the Senate.
Yeah,
Like,
let them
send
make
it
a
to
rule.
where
Go
that
right
law should
ahead.
be made.
Exactly.
People
But
will sue
Well,
and try
I
and
don't
get it
even
overturned.
I don't even believe it should go that far. It should be states' decisions. The left's really infatuated on the federal level having control over stuff
of course.
when it was never meant to be like that. Where you look at it as California, this is a huge issue. Texas, maybe not as much, but it's dependent on population. Population should make their own local laws.
Uh-huh.
It's why we have state
Yes, but
laws and federal laws.
Tower, you misunderstand. They're democratic socialists.
Well, Roe v. Wade,
No,
if you live in a
Tower. You got to let that marinate.
no, I
Marinate.
know this.
I'm gonna
It's
marinate
just
some
such
steak.
a
Thanks,
it's
Chester.
such
Good
a
idea.
dumb argument
It is.
because the people who think it's going to change their life live in these liberal shithole cities that are not going to change at all. Like they're
That's right.
just going to make state legislator that means the exact same thing. The only people it's going to change is like Georgia, Florida, Bible bumper states
Sure.
where them old Southern ladies ain't changing their opinion for no one.
That's true. And that, of
But
course,
they
that's the
do make
ridiculous
good
nature of it.
biscuits.
They do make good
In the-
biscuits.
Oh
But of
my
course,
God.
the point being is everybody and their brother is losing their damn mind and hasn't have an opinion. I'm going to break your heart, Thundero. I'm going to break your heart. I am.
Don't do it. I can't. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Punk's a cuck. I like Punk as a wrestler, but he's kind of like Jim Cornette. I don't listen to his political opinions. All Elite Wrestling star CM Punk slams pro-life activist as quote elite, which is funny coming from All Elite Wrestling. Elite, rich, white, terrorist, religious fascists.
Wow.
All right,
Wow.
Phil, buddy, Phil. You're white. Well, you're Jewish, but you're white enough.
Yeah.
You are in the elite because of your wealth.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. What else are you? You're rich as hell.
Fascist.
I guess you're not. I guess you're not religious. Religious. But I bet you're more fascist than most of the right is, bud. I bet you are. You just won't look in the mirror and realize it.
But
abortions kill more minorities than anything else in history.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
That's absolutely true. Oh, that was the
Well, that was
plan,
by
though.
design,
You see, Tower.
so.
But the thing with it though is that it's really interesting how many people are screeching. I mean, you name a celebrity, they're talking right now. So
Yep.
someone definitely buzzed them up. And I know the Democrats are all salivating in their mouths, thinking that we're gonna win because of this. I don't think so. I think
don't
you
either.
done screwed the pooch is what you done.
I think we're heading. The Fed's doing everything it can to prevent an actual recession, and I don't think it's going to win that battle because the market forces are stronger than the manipulators, as we see in China. So I think we're heading headlong into an actual recession.
Yeah.
We already have food shortages. We already have literal formula shortages, Chester. People can't get food for their babies. That's happening in America
I know.
right now.
I haven't even talked about the mysterious exploding of food plants.
Yes,
Yeah.
that stuff's happening right now. I really maybe it will. Maybe people want to kill babies so much, and they're so worried about women not being able to do it whenever they want that they're willing to ignore the fact that there's people that they're starving. Right, the people are out of food. Maybe they are, but I don't think we're not that far down the rabbit hole. Maybe we are. We'll find out. We'll find out.
I did love this shirt though by Mr. Punk, because basically it says get your own female, then tell her what to do. I agree.
I have my own. She just went to bed. I tell her what to do all the time.
Yeah, just you tell that woman, CM. You tell that woman. Yeah. I'm sorry,
Have you
Grimlock. Go
guys,
ahead,
have you
dude.
guys? I was going to ask, have you guys seen some of the Republican candidates who are wanting to ban contraception? Like, there's a GOP representative, and they want to ban condoms.
Yeah,
and
those
birth
are
control?
also idiots.
Yeah, idiots.
It's also
Okay.
stupid.
Yeah, and there was some other idiot Ben somewhere. I forget what damn state it was in. Some talking about interracial marriage. Fuck off, dude.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
off.
Nobody cares.
I agree with wide spectrum politics, but the same GOP candidates who do shit like that are the ones who hurt the party in total.
Of course.
It's the
They're
experience on
all
both sides.
idiots, Tower. There are no good politicians. Have you not learned this yet?
That's right. The only good
Except for
politician,
those are
the
always
only
great.
good politician was named Ron Paul, and they did everything they could to screw him.
You're
That was the only
talking
one.
to somebody who believes every politician on both sides should get tarred, feathered, and shot in the streets.
Yes.
I
Like
love
whole.
everything you're
I
saying.
believe. I willfully believe every single politician and government holding like political official should be tarred and burned in the streets
Well,
and just reset from the ground up.
you kind of missed the
Turtle.
fun without the feathers there, Tower.
I'm liking this,
I'm
man.
just
You
gonna
know, you're
throw
making me moist
fucking
here.
gravel. I'm gonna go down my road and just pick up gravel that they haven't fucking paved in 50 years and throw
Yeah.
that shit at
There
them.
you go.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Ben dropped in because at least here's a topic we can agree upon.
Oh,
Yeah.
again, all right. To me, this is really stupid, and it's the same. It's the same overreaction every fucking time from
Yeah.
both sides. It's the same overreaction.
Yeah.
It's been played out. I've been seeing this overreaction for 30 years. No, nobody's coming for your goddamn ovaries. Nobody's gonna tell you that you can't have abortions. Maybe a couple of states will. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, there's been quite a few cases, and this is not the only one, that was taken to the Supreme Court, and it should have never been taken to the Supreme Court.
No.
The Supreme Court should not have that kind of reach. There's apparently a couple of justices on the Supreme Court bench that realize that and are working to overturn it. And fine.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have a problem with it. Look, again, we're talking about opinion versus law.
Yeah.
My opinion and what you are allowed to do legally are two different things. Again, I've said it before. I'm for the freedom of people to do what they want, even if I disagree with it. You want to have an abortion because you can't close your legs or you can't get whoever you're about to fuck to put on a condom. That's your decision. I just don't want to have to pay for it. I don't want one rent cent.
I agree.
Anything I earn going to pay for your reckless decision, because my philosophy is, if I ain't getting the pussy, I ain't paying.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my philosophy.
And here's the big question I have, guys, because what you said about the Supreme Court, of course, is 100% correct. Why have the Democrats not, for 6 decades, why have they not actually made it law? Why not?
I don't know. I mean,
they've had decades to do it. They've held the House multiple times and the Senate.
Hold on.
Why didn't they do it?
Let the person who's actually closer to being a Democrat answer that than you guys do.
I asked the question.
So, the reality is that the Democratic Party is a much broader constituency than the Republican Party, and that there are far left people, and then there's like center right, and even like right center leaning people who don't like the direction of the GOP, and so it is harder to get because this is the problem, and this is the problem with the Democrats in general. The Democrats are fighting with each other, and they're fighting with the Republicans, but the Republican infighting isn't as pervasive as it is in the Democratic Party, because again, it's a broader constituency in the Democratic Party, and so there are going to be pro-lifers inside the Democratic Party, and so it becomes harder to whip up, right? Because even in the Senate right now, we control it by like a tie-breaking vote
vice
with
president
the
vote.
vice president. Yeah. So if you can't get anyone, and that's including Joe Manchin, who, by all intents and purposes, is more Republican than he is Democratic. Again, that's that broad constituency. Same with Kristen Sinema. Same with Susan Collins, right? So it's a broader constituency than the GOP.
Well, all right then. They make a bunch of noise about it. Just why didn't you fix it? Republicans, we can sum that up really easy, Ben. Cowards, the lot of them.
Yeah.
So
cowards and warmongers.
You don't need
craven.
to bring the
Craven's the right
up.
word.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, I mean the Republican, like the agenda from the Republicans has been pretty clear for the last 40 years. Is that sell on social things, fearmonger on social things, get in power, reduce taxes, sure. Lose some popular favor, then fearmonger on social stuff again, get in power, reduce taxes. Like it's this broken record.
And the Democrats are raise taxes,
They both do the same
control
thing.
everything, take everything away, tell you what you can eat in the morning and where you can sleep. Yeah, Democrats.
They both do the same thing, to be honest. Because
They
I've
do.
been
They're
hearing
all
for
shitheads.
Democrats for 25 years that Republicans are getting ready to put me back on the cotton field at any moment now.
Well, half of you.
When
Yes.
when I mean,
It's good for you, dude. You get off at noon.
fuck that. I'm not a morning. I'm not a morning person.
I get it. I
That's a killable
understand that.
offense in and of
We got
itself.
lights now. It's fine.
That's
We got
fair.
lights.
Well, the funny
I
thing,
don't
of
give a
course, I
damn.
joke about it because you joke about it. But the ironic
No,
thing, you do
I,
realize that the vast majority of so-called African Americans are actually 60% plus not African.
Yeah.
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 But
But
here's the other thing. 3% of the population accounts for 40% of abortions, and I find that absolutely abhorrent.
oh my God,
I hope
it is bad.
Margaret
It is
Singer
bad.
is burning in hell with extra heat for what she did, and all the people who
Extra hot
supported
hell.
her
Yeah.
and her vision. I hope burn in hell. So
She's in
all
super
the
hell.
Democrats who support Planned Parenthood can suck the most rancid part of my dick.
Hillary Clinton.
Ooh,
And
Yeah, the taint even.
yes,
The taint
the
even.
taint.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
the
oh yes,
taint.
when it's nice and
Oh
sweaty with that
no!
Yeah.
extra
Oh God.
seasoning.
Oh God. Yeah.
Right
It's
after
the
you've been
best.
working
It's
out,
best.
doing doing cardio for an hour, right around
Yeah.
Yeah,
then.
Yeah.
Oh
after
no!
working out to Amon Amaranth for 2 hours.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair. But I think we all agree politicians suck. This
That's
thing
right.
is stupid.
Yep.
Most people agree there are situations where abortion is viable and it is
Yep.
abused though. So a little bit of moderation, a little bit of control is necessary because it doesn't matter even in the 1% of all abortions that involve something that we would all agree with, like rape, incest,
Oh, it's less than
threat
that.
to the mother or whatever. It's about 1%.
Yep.
Even in those cases, and I agree, yeah, please do so, right? But one thing we've gotten away from, and
nobody
the
I've
thing is
talked to
this,
disagrees with those cases either.
no, but here's the problem, though. Even though most all humans are going to agree with that, the problem is it's still murdering a child. You still are, and we should at
Yep.
least acknowledge that fact. Yes, it is necessary. I get it, and like I said, most humans get it. But let's not get away from the fact that we are killing a life. We are doing that and let's not act like we're not. And that's one of the things that irritates me out of the pro-choice. Not all of them, but some of them, that they basically hate babies. Go listen to the way they talk. They
Yep.
basically the baby is a stupid little parasite, and how dare that parasite have any infringement upon my bodily autonomy? And I'm
Yep.
not, that's an exact quote of language you would hear as well. And the thing is, nowhere along the line, as far as getting into the actual abortion conversation, nowhere along the line did I hear everybody say, what about your responsibility? I never hear any of these feminists or pro-choicers. I guess it doesn't have to be a feminist. When do they come in and say they're about the responsibility of your actions? Because you're talking about this leechy parasite thing that is messing with your bodily autonomy. Well, what about your fucking choices?
That's right.
I mean, as
Well,
far as the
it's funny
Oh no,
conversation
because you
goes,
you're not supposed to
you
talk
have
about
these
that.
these radical leftoids or whatever you want to call them out here saying things like, "Well, if I can't have an abortion, then he doesn't get any sex."
fine,
And the far right's like,
please,
Okay.
"Yeah,
that would solve
that
the
sounds
problem.
good. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's what we've been after. Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Good idea.
solving this problem for us."
Thanks, Joy Reid.
It's weird, right? Because I don't subscribe to the horseshoe theory of politics, right? That if you go far enough left or right, eventually you meet in the middle.
They're all idiots.
I don't think that's true, but there is some weird things where they rhyme, and that's a good example of it, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
they basically turn to abstinence because they're afraid of getting pregnant and can't have an abortion.
That's a victory.
And the
dude.
far and the the religious right's like, yeah, thank you, that sounds good.
It's awesome, yeah. But I mean, Roe versus Wade was not a good law. Even
No.
Ginsburg openly spoke about it was not a
Yes.
good law. It's not because it's not law. It's
She
opinion.
said exactly that it hurt the abortionists' cause more than it helped because it was a band-aid, basically a band-aid solution that will eventually have to be adjudicated properly.
Right. Now,
And I think she might even vote with the people who want it, because she had said she kind of did. Um,
Yeah.
Because they're not saying that, at least what I read of it, they're not saying that abortion it has to be banned or outlawed,
No,
or
they're not saying
it's
that at all.
some
They're
great
simply
moral sin. They just say that this is not how we do law in
no.
America.
They're saying either the legislators need to do something about it or the states do. And that
Yep.
they're just kind of washing their hands of it. Now, Ben, I would like to ask you a question because I think we're all in agreement in general on this conversation. But Ben, I would like to ask you if the legislator does get together and tries to put an actual law, which I'm assuming they're going to try. What do you think will be because it really this law, it all comes down to where's the breakoff point? Where is you can't do it past this point? Where do you think it's going to fall as far as some manner of legislating this through the Senate?
It really, there's a lot that's involved in it, right? It kind of depends on the type of pregnancy. So, for instance, like it's if ectopic pregnancy or a septic uterus, right?
And now don't
There's
get
no
into that.
viable.
Don't stick to standard humans, please.
Okay, so you just okay. There's devils in the details because we still have people trying to ban, like
Yeah, no,
saying you can't.
I
But
get that, but all
okay,
those little special circumstances, we're gonna agree with you anyway. Just standard
okay.
pregnancy, please.
I would probably say somewhere until like the second trimester. I'm not entirely sure. What they're going to probably do, and this is based off of the earlier like reading from a congressional perspective, is like there's the concept of like body autonomy, in which there is like precedence on law for that. Like we can't force you to give blood. We can't force you to do bone marrow. We can't force you to be an organ donor,
Mhm.
right? You have like you can do religious exemption, so people can't take your, even if you die, like you have rights to your body from a
Sure.
religious perspective, right? And that's written into law. So that's kind of you're right, totally. There was a right to privacy that they went with last time. That's
Yeah.
why Ginsburg didn't like it. But the right to body autonomy is a completely valid avenue to go through it. If I'm like pierced through the stomach and I'm bleeding, there's nothing that they can do to force you to give me blood to keep me alive, right?
Sure. And
And so
I
we
won't bring up the fact of the autonomy of the child itself. I won't do that. But continue.
that's a completely different thing, though.
Is it?
Like it is.
How?
Is is the person who's pregnant relying on the child to live?
Eventually.
What does
No,
that have to
that's
do
not
with
how pregnancy
autonomy?
works. That has to do with autonomy. That no one can compel you to let them live,
Yeah, but what about the
right?
autonomy of the child, though? Don't they have autonomy
Autonomy in what sense?
to exist?
That's not the same as body autonomy.
How
You're
is it
not using that
not?
word
You're
correctly.
taking away their life, therefore you are ending the function of their autonomy.
Right. Like so
Yes,
if
I
I'm like
agree. I'm glad
got
we
a
agree.
no, dude, you're using words incorrectly. You're
No, I'm
being
not.
ignorant of the
I
definition.
am
No,
not
yes,
ignorant at
you
all,
absolutely are.
sir.
You totally are.
How
No, no,
am
no, no.
I? How are you going to sit there and argue that that life, that child, has no right? How?
Body autonomy. Hold on. Body autonomy means that I have the right to operate my body the way I see fit. I can get piercings, right? I can get
Sure.
tattoos, and I can choose whether or not I donate blood, donate bone marrow,
Well,
right?
can't that child
So,
decide if it's going to be left or right, up or down, kick or not?
it, but you're implying that it has
Oh,
like from its body autonomy perspective,
uh-huh.
that it has a right to rely on somebody else to live.
Sure it
But that's
does.
not how any of our
All
other.
Of
children do
course it
that.
does. It
Yeah.
absolutely does.
But we don't have that applicable anywhere else within any of our medical industry. I
Well,
do not have a right to your
maybe
bone marrow. I do not.
carrying a second life inside of you is a unique situation,
Is it?
isn't it?
I disagree.
Well, this argument always comes down to viability, right? And I think a lot of people, if you can find whatever you consider to be viable, the problem is the science keeps pushing that number back. But you find what a viable number is, you can get the majority of people to put their hands up and agree. But the
Mhm.
problem is we have a lot of people that see that it doesn't matter what viability is because of my autonomy. Now and I understand the
Okay.
argument you're making, and I appreciate it, Ben, but you do realize and you know that is an incredibly selfish point of view.
Humans are selfish. No, wait a minute. You're okay. This is why I accuse you of being obtuse on this, because you're implying that no, hold on. You're implying that there are like 1,000% more rights on the baby when it's in the uterus,
Uh-huh.
right, or in the womb. Then as soon as it exits out, all of those rights go away, and we have no
Oh,
more
so
responsibilities from any
as
other
soon
human
as it's
beings
out, I can bash it and kill it, or I can steal from it, or I can
No,
give it a
no,
little
no,
bit
no,
of
no, no.
Twinkie there on
There's
the
no
nipple?
requirement for
Is that what I
no.
can
There's
do?
no requirements. No, there's no requirements for blood donations, bone marrow donations, anything to keep the child alive. We have a blood shortage constantly because not enough people are donating blood. Should we be able to
That is
compel
true.
people to donate blood so we can keep babies alive? As soon as that goes out of the vagina, we don't care anymore about body autonomy. You literally only care about it when it's in the womb.
That's not
As soon as
true.
it exits,
That is
that
not
is
true. I
absolutely true.
agree
That is
with
a
the point you
thousand
just
percent
made.
true.
That is a problem. However, the point I'm trying to make, Ben, is that in no way can you sit here and say that that baby has no rights, because that's what all the people of body autonomy are talking about. That child has
Mm.
no rights. It is simply a lousy, stinky parasite, and how dare it infringe upon me? That is
I'm
the
saying
argument
it
I
has the
hear
same
daily.
rights. I am having it. I'm saying it has the same rights outside the room as inside the room.
No, you're
That's what I'm
not.
saying.
You're not.
Well,
Because if you can
Absolutely, I
kill it
am.
inside the room, you're taking away its right to exist, which is the ultimate expression of autonomy.
No, no, no.
Yes, it is.
Just as I can kill you too by not giving you a kidney, right? I might be the only person who matches. I'm taking away your right to life.
That
I
is
have the right
not
to
so
even
kill
does
you.
talk
a
about
child
straw
not have a
man
right to
arguments,
food?
Ben. What are you doing?
That's a perfectly valid
No, it is
argument. What are you
not,
talking
No,
dude.
about?
it's not.
No, it's
I have
not.
to, I have to I have to ask you for real. Based on your logic, does a child have a right to food? A baby.
I mean, there is a moral responsibility for food.
No, no, no.
That's a
Don't
very
bring
good
that
question.
up
I'm not
now.
sure.
Well, why is there not a moral responsibility to not kill a child then? Where's
From
the
a
line
body,
at?
from a body autonomy perspective, I mean,
So if we
from your
create and
perspective,
we're
like, do we have? So you're implying like so. This is where we get into the again. This is the body autonomy perspective, right?
Mhm.
So you have a right to food, right? So that means, do homeless have a right to food? Do we have to feed the homeless? That do we have a moral responsibility as a
We do.
society to
the
feed the homeless?
homeless the homeless are
A
well, I
moral
think we have
one.
a moral responsibility. Yes. Do we have a right, like a rightful responsibility, meaning a legalistic responsibility? No, because most homeless people can supply their own food. They have the ability to gain food, whether it be through work or just walking into a soup kitchen and getting it. An innocent baby cannot. They are completely dependent on their parent or their
Or
caregiver.
the person that pass it along to, yeah. But
Yes.
I mean, I get the argument, Ben. I understand. This is an old ancient argument. So really,
Yeah.
I can back to my initial question, which is really the important one. Where do you think the legislators are going to fall on viability? Because that's where the cutoff's going to be, right? Because
Somewhere in the second trimester, right? They're not going to go third trimester. I don't know if they'll, they're probably not going to stop at the first trimester. I'd imagine somewhere in the second trimester,
I see. So probably that 21-week period, probably then, huh?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, does it? I understand the argument side that you're making, and that's cool. But what about the problem with the medical research over the past couple of decades that keep pushing back what science considers to be viable, though?
Okay, now you're getting into the weeds again. Like
I
I thought we were
know,
not
I
getting into the
know, I
weeds.
know. I'm sorry.
You're giving me whiplash here.
I'm sorry.
Do we get into the weeds or do we not get into the weeds?
Well, no, probably not. You're probably right. It is one of those topics that you can never convince one side or the other against
Well, I
anything
do have
on.
one
Yeah.
question because I don't get to talk to I'm assuming just by what he's saying, pro-abortionists very often, because usually they're screaming instead of talking.
Well, sure.
Um,
He's just making the point.
yeah, I do have one question though. We are relatively close to a functioning artificial womb
We are
as
very close, actually.
scientists.
Yeah.
Yes. If that becomes a viable option, would you still support abortion? Meaning we can take the baby from the mother safely as possible, and put it into this womb, and it can just gestate in there.
Yeah. And they've been doing it with goats, by the way.
Yep. Which is close. That's close to humans genetically.
It is a good question, though.
Because for me, I think that it should end all debates. If we get the technology and we get it fairly cheaply, get it to where it makes sense financially and things, I really don't see an argument for it. Go ahead.
Are we gonna be putting a cost on the mother for that?
It would depend on the circumstances. I would say, just like most mothers have to pay for their own abortions, or at least have somebody else pay for it.
That's true. Yeah. So there is already a cost involved, but that's probably something that would fall on the taxpayer.
I would be okay. I'd be perfectly okay with subsidizing saving babies' lives. Absolutely, 100%. I think most conservatives would be like, yes, let's do that.
Oh, don't do it, Ben. Don't do it. Don't bite. Don't do it. Don't do it, Ben. Don't do it.
Oh, you know that's not true, though, right?
Yeah.
To save babies' lives?
There are so many things that people pay into taxes that they prefer not to, though. Right? This conversation would go deep, dude.
Yeah, this is going to get into the weeds. I mean, gets into the healthcare argument that the reality is that there's a ton of people who would prefer not to have them in the first place, but it becomes too much of a financial burden I'm not even saying like raise them, just have them in the first place. Like it's expensive to have babies, right? And so like that's why I really wish that as part of this argument, the GOP would get their act together and say, and we're going to make it super cheap to the point of being free to have children, because then that would realistically drop the abortion rate drastically. But
the other thing, like you and I kind of had this conversation already once, and I pointed out to you Hungary's model to try and get their birth rates up, and I think it's with some tweaking would work probably everywhere.
Yeah, and I was totally in line with you. I was totally fine with that, right?
No,
but the problem
I
is,
am fine with the government spending money to make sure we have a sustainable birth rate. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think if you present it to many conservatives in that way, they're going to agree. Because remember, conservatives elected Trump, and Trump spent money like a motherfucker, crazy.
I
it's
think
the way you present it and who presents it.
Well, yeah, but I think there's a toxic nature of the GOP that would cover that under socialism. It really depends on who you have backing it and the nature in which it's presented.
That is becoming a smaller group, though, Ben. It is becoming a smaller group.
Socialism is becoming much less of a dirty word, right or wrong. And it's also because one of the problems that the left has done is they try to take every public work and say that it's socialism, which is ridiculous. It's obviously not.
No.
Like if I been
doing that.
Well, it's been both, to be honest.
That's what I meant.
It's been both, to be honest, because now because what happened was the right originally did that, right? Just because they didn't want to spend the money. And then the left was like, no, yeah, we agree. Yeah, it is. Because they, socialists like socialism, so they use it as an argument, a pro-argument.
There's another question here that's involved with all of this, because it's the one of responsibility, right? And I don't understand why this isn't a God-given right as well. Because Ben and I are the ones here with kids, right?
Yep.
Now I don't know about you, Ben, but I kind of planned my kids. How about you?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Now, why is it that there seems to be millions, because there's been millions and millions and millions of abortions? Why is it that there seems to be such a large amount of people who can't put a fucking cap on it, dude?
I mean,
that's the essence of the conversation, though, isn't it? If you just had responsible sex, I have nothing wrong with sex. Go have sex. Enjoy yourself. I don't care who you're having sex with, as long as they're consenting. I don't care. But be responsible.
Well,
what the hell, dude?
But okay, so that gets into some religious questions, because there's been
what's
a lot
religious about that, dude?
No, so there's been a lot of religious education that detriments the education of sex education, right?
Oh,
they
Catholics.
They basically tell you Yeah. Well, I mean, like not just Catholic, but like conservative Christianity. Like like because they here's the reality: they don't want you to have sex before marriage,
No,
and they could see contraceptive as an allowance of having sex before marriage. And
fine.
so they, put a detriment on it. They say, condoms don't work, birth control doesn't work, it has negative side effects. So
Mhm.
they do such an indoctrination against contraceptives that, and the reality is like, as we all know, humans are closer to animals than they are angels, right? Sex is a need that we have, just
Oh,
like
sure,
breathing and
sure.
eating and stuff like that. And so when these younger kids who've been sort of indoctrinated to like, oh, well, I shouldn't use contraceptive, and then they get to an age where like the hormones go wild and they just want to hump everything in sight,
Mhm.
then they, just start doing it. And they're like, well, I've been told condoms don't work, so I might as well not use a condom. Like I've been
Well,
told this story
I
so
understand
many
that
times by
argument,
people who grew up like very conservatively religious, right?
sure, but we are by the very law of our country, government is secular, is it not?
Supposed to be.
Oh, I
Yeah,
mean, it's like a huge quotation theory on that.
right. Well,
Like,
why don't we just take that quotation and just erase it and really push contraception
Well,
you're
here is a
now you're going to be
problem.
and
fighting with the
sexual
GOP again.
education as well?
But now you're
Here is
grooming.
a
Now you're
problem.
grooming. Why are you grooming?
How am I
Let
grooming?
me explain to you. Let me explain to you the problem though. Is because things aren't as black and white as that. Some contraception is potentially dangerous, and it does potentially screw up hormonal imbalances in women. I have a literal real
Fair.
world example of this in my life where my wife was on a very heavy contraceptive that helped regulate her periods and things, and she has gone off of it because it was causing her all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to get into it, but all kinds of problems.
Yep.
And she went off of it, and now she hasn't been on it for about a year. We haven't had any oops babies, thankfully, but there are some contraceptives that can be dangerous and can have hormonal impacts.
Sure, sure.
If we're going to
But
push contraceptives, if we're going to do that, I'm fine with that. But we have to make sure that we're honest and upfront and forthright with that information. Tell these women that some of these contraceptions can lead to depression. That's actually true. They
sure.
can mess up their
But
hormones and make them
I
depressed.
get that argument, and I know there's a long list of them. But my argument comes down to the male, though, Thundero,
Yeah.
because I'm not a strong believer. It's just simple the fact of reality that in the end, the only people who are really required. It would be nice if everybody had it, but the only people who are actually required to be responsible are men in the end. If anything goes
Mhm.
wrong, who are the ones going to clean it up? We do. Who's the ones who are going to get blamed? We are. In the end, no
Mhm.
matter how you do it, what culture you're in throughout the entire history, it always comes down to men are forced to be responsible in the end. Therefore, screw it, dude. Lean into it.
Yeah.
But
That's as far
so
as that's
like
what I say.
so I don't disagree with you, but we've seen this happen historically within the United States where they try handing out condoms, like say at high school, and
Yeah.
then people get blamed for trying to get kids to fuck and stuff, right? And this is where some of the groomer conversation comes
Yeah, I
from,
get it, but
right? Where
that's a religious conversation, and they're fair to have it. They can have all the conversations they want, but government is secular, so they can go kick rocks, dude.
I completely agree with you, but that is a very hard conversation to have, especially now. Like I agree we are secular, but I mean, we even like we have Mitt Romney and them saying, was it Mitt Romney who are like we were founded as a Christian nation, which is completely opposite of like all the founding father stuff, right?
No,
Like
they're not
our first
Christians
peace
at
treaty.
all.
Well, I mean, our first peace
Yes.
treaty was, like, declared the United States as a secular nation, right? So, but there's a religiosity that's taken over again that is pushing
I
some of the
understand that.
conversation more.
I understand,
So, yeah,
but
but I
and I
agree with you. I'm not
yeah,
saying you're wrong. I'm wishing we would, but
right. And this isn't
it's
against
hard.
religious people either. You can be religious all you want, but when it comes to government, government must be secular. It must be, because otherwise it's unequal. It's unfair. It has to be secular. And therefore, they can yell and scream all they want. I mean, honestly, people are going to find a reason to bitch no matter what you do. But when it comes right down to it, from the government's point of view, it doesn't matter what you say, religious people. We can be candy-handed about it if we want, or just be direct and say, no, this is what needs to be done from a governmental point of view, whether you like it or not. Now, how you interact and raise your children is fine, but then again, you're also responsible for the actions of your kids, are you not? I get it. but I'm like, I don't care.
I can tell you
Is my
where that
take on
comes
it.
from. The idea of the Christian nation. The main one would be James Madison. James Madison
That's
quite
fair.
literally said that the Constitution of the United States is designed for I think he said noble or moral and religious people. It's not fit for anyone else. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. That's basically what he says. And he's correct to a certain degree. What he meant, though, wasn't necessarily you have to be hardcore Christian, because obviously he didn't mean that, because some of the founders weren't hardcore Christian. The two most prominent ones, besides George Washington, weren't hardcore Christians. So he obviously didn't mean it in a theocratic sense.
Well, they were
But
deists.
there's two different versions of America. What I mean by that is there's the American government, in the way our governance system is set up, our constitution, our structure, our three branches, the whole nine. And then there's the American people. I do think America was a Christian nation. That does not mean they established a Christian government.
That's true.
And because they didn't, they established a pretty much secular, tried to make it as empirical as
Well,
possible.
they established a Messianic government, is what they did.
Yes, you could even have a theocratic government that is, say, Christian in nature, and still have it be empirical, meaning it still only makes law based on reason and evidence and testimony. It doesn't make law based on fantasy or religion. That's very possible, and there are some examples of that throughout history where science kind of won out in the legislature over the monarchy, for example. But that I digress. I agree with you. Even though I do think that Christianity is a core tenet of American society, at least it should be.
It has some good
I
things
don't
to it,
think,
for sure.
yeah, and I don't think it should be ratified directly, and that we should be having, if it's basically, we shouldn't be using the Bible for arguments about law. We should be using empirical data, empirical reason for
100%
arguments
agree.
about law.
Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons why people don't want you to give out condoms in high schools, now you can say they're wrong, isn't always a religious reason. It's one of the reasons is they don't want children, which they see as children, which I disagree with. I think high school, you're basically an adult, let's be honest, sexually anyway. One of the reasons they see that is they still see those as children. And a lot of our society still treats them largely as children in high school.
Sure.
And that, I think, is a larger societal problem. And I don't think just telling them to shut up is going to work.
Yeah,
Just
because all
all that's going to do is radicalize them more, and you're going to get more militant
Yeah.
Christian theocratic law in certain states, and
a
maybe
lot
even at
of
the federal
a
level.
lot of teenage kids fuck a lot, dude. Actually.
Yes. So
and
what I would
whatever.
the
What's wrong?
solution
That's
is
fine,
always the solution has always been the founders' brilliance in the federal system. That's always been the answer, but people don't want to hear it. They want to argue until they're blue at the face because they see the power that the federal government has, and they want their side to have it.
Right.
And I'm still over here like, hey, how about we just don't?
Well,
How about we just don't?
and keep in mind that we've had contraceptives throughout history, for sure.
Yes.
But the most potent contraceptive that has been used throughout history is religion, and marriage particularly. It is in itself a contraceptive. And one of the problems I think we run into in the modern world, and is kind of why it's got out of control, is people used to marry very young.
Yes.
And we don't do that anymore. I mean, what's the average marriage age over in America now? 25?
I
26?
think it's 27.
Yeah. And this
Okay.
is
27.
across the Western world is very, very, very similar. And this is one of the problems. People have a much longer, adventurous sexual life than they used to, right? They used to
Yes.
not have any, right? And the sowing of the wild oat thing. So we've had a cultural shift, and I know a lot of people are going to probably want to throw some names at me, historical names like say Rome, and I'm just going to tell you you're wrong. I understand
You're very wrong.
the movies make Rome to be this crazy sex up place. No, it wasn't.
No,
It was an
not at all.
extremely conservative place.
It was way more conservative than
Yes.
America's ever been.
Right.
Ever.
And most of the
To the
brothels
point
you
where,
see
just as
were
an
for
example,
soldiers, actually.
yes, to the point for just as an example, if a woman was on top of a man during sex, that was a big shame. That wasn't something that was considered massively disgraceful in Rome. You didn't do that. The
Why?
man was always to be in control.
Yeah,
Always.
but that's the lazy fuck though. That's nice.
Oh, and that's fun because then everything, all the jiggly bits is
I
jiggling. You're like,
know
yep,
it's really nice.
yep,
Those damn
mm-hmm.
Romans. But a lot of people
Damn
misunderstand
Roman
that.
prudes.
Yes. But anyway, we're way off subject.
We are.
Nevertheless, it is a hot topic, of course. But the thing is, legislators legislate then, or just let the
Yes.
states do it. For
Do
goodness
your
sake,
job.
dude.
And if you can't do your job, then let the states do their job. That is the beauty of our system. And
Yeah.
mostly our system works if you just frickin' let it. Get out of the
Yes.
way.
Yes. Because you're not going to get. I do love the fact that he likes to tell women what to do, though. You get him, CM. But it's just. But
I
the
like that
absolute.
interpretation.
I know
I like that
the
interpretation.
insanity that's coming out with people yelling and screaming when they don't even understand what Roe versus Wade is.
Yeah.
It's just senility, dude.
I
Anyway.
think there's a serious problem with people having a voice that honestly shouldn't.
Oh my
Not that
God.
we should
Yeah.
oppress their voice or whatever. I'm not going that. I'm not saying that, but an opinion. Yeah, everybody has a right to one, but maybe they shouldn't because some people's opinions are just
You know,
unbelievably stupid.
we
Just
could.
stupid.
Yeah, no, it's true. We could send Ben out with a mask and an axe.
He's gonna chop us some peepees? Is that what you're telling
He's
me?
going to
This
deal with
this
it.
this goes in complete violation of our free speech conversation, Thundero. The hypocrisy is
No. Free
just
speech is
delicious.
is important, but no, let's be
Yeah,
honest. You have to earn an opinion.
I agree. Well, you have to earn one with clout anyway.
It's
Typically,
written.
Yeah.
That's not
typically.
a requirement.
No, it's not. But for me to have a conversation with you is.
Yeah,
Oh,
See, I can
okay. Well,
choose who I interact with, just as
that's
same
now
true.
as
now
I
we're
can
in the
choose who
church
I
of shit.
fuck, and I can choose whether I put a condom on my dick as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't though. I don't like them. Just
Oh God,
they're gross.
whatever. Uh, but nevertheless, moving on from this. But wow, dude, the world just blew up this week. Blew up.
That didn't take long. Disney breaks their Percy Jackson promise. Race swaps Grover and Annabeth.
Mm,
No one is surprised.
yeah. Now, if they hadn't said anything, if they had said that they were going to keep it exactly like the book, which is what they said, if they had not said that, whatever, right? But the fact that they are breaking what kind of uh, promise, I guess, is the word being used here. But it is kind of interesting. If I'm kind of wondering, guys, I didn't really care much about the Percy Jackson stuff, but it's kid stories, and rock on, But the thing with it is, if I were making a Percy Jackson story, adapting something, and I have Disney as it is, where you got to have one of every color. Well, I would expand that away from the Greek pantheon, the Olympians, because all these different racial groups have their own pantheons, right? And you could do
Mm,
something cool with that if you expanded it. But I guess that wouldn't be Percy Jackson anymore, I suppose. But I don't know. Does anyone actually care that they broke their promise? Is anyone shocked?
no, no.
No,
No, nobody should be shocked at what
it's
Disney
fine.
did.
At least Percy
Yeah.
isn't a black lesbian.
They could have did that.
Give him time. Give him time.
I mean, Percy sounds kind of like a black lesbian's
It
name, so
does. It
yeah.
does. Yeah. But I just feel bad that there's someone in there called Grover.
Yeah, that's a I thought we all agreed as a society to stop naming people Grover. I mean, Grover Cleveland was enough, isn't it?
True. This is my
God.
bike. You can come in the back with
You will,
me.
I
I
will
want
not take
ice
that
cream.
slander with Grover Washington. If Grover Washington Jr. exists, I will not take that slander.
Fair.
That's
That's
fair.
fair.
That's fair. That's
That's
fair.
fair.
But at least the
Mr.
kids are
Magic would not
smiley and
accept
cute,
it.
though. All right.
Yeah.
We got a little ginger up in there as Percy, cool. We got Indian boy there as Dot not Feather, as Grover. So, and he's a good looking boy. Annabeth, at least she's kind of cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
mean,
about
at
all the
least
dread extensions, but whatever.
at least the pedophiles at Disney can still cast cute children. That's fine.
Yeah, they don't a lot though. We get a lot of ugly damn people
That's
in movies
true. That
recently,
is
dude.
true. I don't know what's going on
Uh,
in movies
at
anymore.
least these kids are kind of cute.
Uh, Chester, remember beauty? Remember when we were allowed to appreciate beauty and not have people think you're weird
I
for
guess
just
not.
liking
Yeah.
beauty?
I was
Yeah.
talking about that the other day with my wife. Um, well, one of the you guys know I love just talking about conspiracy theories because they're fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not has nothing to do with the validity of them. That's not the point. They're just
Right.
it's entertaining. It's interesting. And one of my favorite conspiracy theories right now is the whole. Well, it's a kind of a misnomer, but Tartaria, right? Very
Oh,
interesting
yeah.
topic. I enjoy it. And we were sitting there and having that conversation. And obviously, the Tartarian movement, just like Flat Earth, they always go too far, right? There are some,
No.
well, they do. There's some interesting questions for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's aliens. Okay, but but the thing that my wife and I we were watching it. The thing we definitely took out of it that is 100% true about the whole Tartarian thing, and it is cool. It is a fun thing to go get into. Obviously, don't take stuff too serious, guys. But it is fun. But the thing we really took out of it is, man, the old world was so much more beautiful than the new one. It really was.
Yeah.
The architecture, there was art everywhere. There was expressions and statues and all kinds of beautiful stuff just surrounding you all over the place, dude. All over the place. Even if you lived in a kind of dingy part of town, you just walk up a little bit to the main street and you would see some beautiful things, right? These days, with this current style of brutalism that's been going on for what,
Oh,
6, 7 decades, 8 decades now, it's
yeah.
just ugly, dude.
A
It's just
crime against
ugly.
humanity is what it is. Like,
Yeah,
where's beauty at?
yeah.
Why can't we have? Why is the one of the best things America ever built was 100 years ago at the Empire State Building? That thing's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And
Yeah,
where's the in the last 70 years? Where's the equivalent to that? Where's the
yeah.
thing that we've built that is that grand and
Well,
epic?
we
Right?
got modern art.
Ugh, art.
Soup cans. That's what we
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
But
No, it is a problem, and I say this all the time, and it's partially tongue in cheek, but it's also kind of true. We're living in the ruins of an advanced civilization, and we're too arrogant to realize it. Uh, just look at some of these. Like, go to Europe and look. Just look around at some of
yeah,
these buildings
beautiful.
that were built with tools that are so primitive compared to what we have now,
Hmm.
and they're gorgeous,
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. I don't want to hear this argument. Well, it's expensive. Pay it. I don't
Yeah, and
care.
it's not
Beauty
really.
is
It's
worth it.
just simply about how the industry is set up, really. And the
Yeah.
reason things are so ugly today is because, this concept of capitalism, it's been with us for thousands, probably tens of thousands of years, right? The idea of
Some
capitalism.
form.
But
Yeah.
the people who were involved in the capitalism were merchants, traders, and the rich elite. The average person, the vast majority of the population, were agrarian. They weren't
Right.
involved in capitalism hardly at all. Maybe they'd sell a little bit of stuff during the year to buy some special spice or something here or there, but they weren't all about making money constantly. It wasn't. That's just not how humans work for the longest time. And coming into an age where everything is capitalism and everybody is in the system, whether they're welfared into it or not, now you have penny pinching coming in. Whereas it wasn't really
Mhm.
applicable before. So plastics and just the cheapest building material, the cheapest possible thing. I mean, concrete today is laughable compared to even way back to Roman concrete, way
Yep.
superior because it's cheaper. And that's really, I mean, the Tartarian conspiracy people, they go into all the reasons and these, I don't know, dimensional parasites, I think is what they're trying to talk about. But okay, maybe whatever.
Sure.
But
Why not?
well, why not? But the thing I really took out of it, other than a few interesting points they've made, because there are a few, just like Flat Earth, there's a couple of interesting points in it. But the thing I took from it was like, damn, man, the world used to be beautiful, dude. It really
Yes,
did, and it's what a shame. What a shame.
it is, and it was. It's a partially. I mean, it's not totally intentional, but it's partially intentional because I remember
Yeah, it is circumstance.
when when Trump signed. Now you can whether you liked it or not. I like the idea. Trump signed that executive order saying that new American buildings had to be built with classical American architecture was the idea.
Oh, did he? I didn't
Um,
even know about that.
Yeah, of course, Biden overturned that like day one. But yeah, that did happen. I agree with that sentiment. Now, I'm not saying I want the president to do it with an executive order, but I agree with that. I think there's something to be said about the mental health of a civilization when they stop looking to and aspiring to beauty.
Hmm.
And I think we've seen it now, right? We kind of get it. There's a reason why, even though technically the world's a much better place than it was 40 years ago. Crime's lower, food is more plentiful, there's far less people starving to death than there were
It's
all
true.
over the world. Yep, most people think there's something wrong. They think the world's bad. They think it's worse, right? And I think one of the reasons that is because we abandon great works of beauty. I honestly think that. I think that we've taken something about humanity, wonder, something that we all have, but nobody can actually explain. What is it? What is wonder? Well, it just is. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What is it? It's a question that. Why would you even ask that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know what wonder is.
Well, sure. When they used to call things
Taken that.
wonders, by the way, they
Yes,
would
we've
build
taken that and
things.
abandoned it.
Yeah,
And
they would
abandoned it.
they would build beautiful things, and they're just there to look at. Even the old
That's right.
fountain systems were, of course, functional, but they were also built as wonders, just something
That's
to
right.
come and enjoy and look at. We used to do that quite a bit. You don't see this as much, and if you do, it's some weird, bizarre thing. Here's a beauty, by the way. Now,
Right.
now, Ben, excuse me, Ben, you're in Austin. Sorry, doxed. You're in Texas. Sorry. You're in the south central part of America. So tell me, what has Austin got this beautiful? Now, Austin is known as an artistic community anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's artistic or autistic, but one or the other. But what do you have that you would consider be beautiful in Austin?
A couple of things. Um, it really comes down to stuff up the river. There's a lot of beautiful stuff up the river. Um,
I'm not talking
from an
natural beauty. I'm talking
no.
architecture,
I'm talking about.
statues, art,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. From an architectural perspective, the problem is I avoid downtown like the plague, so I'm not the best person to ask this question of.
Well,
Um,
I just think the answer is no. It's really,
you don't think
especially
there's?
in America, it's really, really not. It's really going way downhill, dude.
I mean, to some degrees, yes. To other degrees, I would disagree. Like I disagree with Thundero's thing about people feeling hopeless because of the lack of architectural beauty. I would actually put more onus responsibility on that on the 24-hour news cycle that is
That's
geared
fair.
towards fear mongering.
That's fair.
I
But
think
if
that
you
has a lot
were,
more to do with the anxiety of America.
yeah. But if I mean, we can agree though. If you're walking around in a beautiful environment, it's not gonna hurt.
Right. I mean, and so I mean, I don't disagree. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like if I had this fight.
No, it's
I
not
would put
worth
it
it.
as
Yeah, yeah.
no. I mean, I would argue that this is maybe a problem of capitalism that
Yeah, I
we
think
put a
it
lot
is.
more.
Yeah.
I think we put a lot more stock into doing things as cheap and as fast as possible. That's kind of how we've geared the market for the last 50 years. So, and I think that's part of the crux of the problem that we're
Yeah.
having.
I agree
Well,
100%. Yeah.
Chester, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said brutalism.
It is what they call it.
Brutalism,
Yeah.
that is what it is, and it was also something that the Chinese do. It's also something the Soviets did.
Everyone
It
does
is
it.
now I don't think we're doing it over here. Well, maybe we are, but I don't think it's for some nefarious reason. I think it's just money. But when they did it in other places, like the Soviet Union
Middle
and China
East,
as well, Middle
gorgeous
East,
stuff, man.
yes, that's what I was going to get to. But when they do that in other places, they do that with the intent of screwing with your emotional state. That is the purpose of it. That is why Soviet architecture is mostly hideous
Oh,
for
so
the common
you
person.
agree with the extra dimensionals parasites?
No, I agree that people are psychological animals, and that if you can constantly put things that are just blah in front of them, that's what their mood's going to be. It's really hard to keep your mood up, keep happiness, keep joy keep aspirationalism, keep wonder. There's that word again. If you're looking at misery, if you're looking at things that are just bland and boring,
Mhm.
it's just not. That's not how we work. We're unfortunately we're all programmable to certain degrees, and if you continuously see ugly, you're going to think ugly.
Right.
That's just how people function. That's one of the reasons why cops end up killing themselves a lot and soldiers end up killing themselves a lot. Uh, because you just get inundated with the worst or the ugliest things. Now, obviously,
It's
that's a
true.
more extreme example,
It also is
but I
why
think
you
it
see a
works
lot
on
of
a lower level
cops
too.
become more racist as well.
Yep, and they beat women a lot. They have a higher capita of
They
beating
do.
their
Yeah.
spouses.
Anyway, back to the topic real quick, so we can move on. However, yeah, if you're a Percy Jackson fan, sorry, but this is what they do now.
Yep.
And the only positive I can really say is hopefully it's good, and at least the kids are cute. You know, that's about it. But let's move on to my last thing here today, and I do apologize for not Well, maybe this is a happy note. Probably not. I'm ending on a sad note because woof.
The Flash star Ezra Miller accused of intimate partner sexual violence. That is a very weird series of words.
We used to
Quote,
call that
this
domestic
MF is
abuse. What
off his
happened?
effing rocker. Well, yeah, why does it, why can't, what, does domestic abuse doesn't work now? We need 4 words for
Is
the two?
that too triggering, Ben?
I don't understand. I'm confused.
Oh, I think it's fine.
But
I
it's
think it's a
not.
fine
It's
episode.
intimate partner sexual violence now.
That's so weird. It's very precise.
It's
Why is it so
it's
precise?
ipsiv ipsiv.
Hey, it's your boy Spencer. Get your boy Spencer in line, okay?
Yes, fair. Well, I'm sure he's quoting an actual new terminology. However,
Yeah,
this has actually come from a little bit before, but it's just piling on the problems that Ezra is having. Kind of like that Amber Heard girl who seems to abuse everyone she dates. Because I mean, that's one of the things that everyone's on about that damn Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. My God, that thing won't shut up either. But
yeah.
one of the things we've certainly seen out of that is that girl is violent. It's not just Johnny. She's just violent. And Ezra is a violent dude. And I don't understand because
Yes.
he's half a nothing. I mean, he literally comes up to my belt. I mean, why in the hell such a little puny human is so violent? I don't understand. You got to get whacked, dude. What are you
He's literally
doing?
going to get himself killed. He doesn't knock it off. Like the stuff he's been pulling out there in Hawaii, especially. I'm
Yeah,
surprised someone hasn't. If it wasn't Hawaii, if it was somewhere else, he probably would have had bullets at him already.
yeah.
I mean, he literally these people literally took him into their home, right? Was helping him out, and he just went nuts. Started calling the woman all kinds of names, attacking her.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's lost his damn
You
mind.
do that in my house, you're dead. I don't care who the fuck you
Yeah.
are. Like I'm going to put
Now,
bullets in you.
now
It's simple.
well, you can handle Ezra, dude. But
Well,
the thing with this is this could be just a tell-all type of situation where an old boyfriend of his is coming forward. It could be something like that. It
yeah,
isn't. Who knows if it's 100% true or not. But the thing is, the pylon is in progress, and he's done it to himself. For damn sure. And I'm really curious because the Amber Heard thing is certainly hurting Warner Brothers when it comes to Aquaman. It certainly is. They reduced her presence in the movie down to 10 minutes. That's not enough. So they might have to. They've actually talked about just reshooting it, those 10 minutes with a different actress. So it's probably the smart move. But this Flash movie has been pushed back again, of course. But I don't know that you can go forward with Ezra. I mean, this is going to hurt ticket sales, dude.
I would hope. It should. They should fire him. Point blank. Period. I mean, he keeps committing violent crimes.
Violence, yeah, and it
What
continuously.
is the
Replace him
standard
with
here?
Grant Gustin.
What are you saying there,
It's
Ben?
anybody at this point. He said replace him
Well, I
with
mean,
Grant Gustin.
that would be hilarious, wouldn't it? I mean, it
Oh,
would
the
be
Yeah,
sort
TV
of
guy?
like with it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
it would be yeah, it would be sort of because they're already doing sort of like the multiverse thing because we saw there's like 3
Sure.
flashes in the trailer, right?
They're all him
So
though.
it would cost. Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's just a funny idea.
No, I agree. I don't know why they didn't go with him anyway. I mean, I don't like the direction the show went, but I thought he was fine as the Flash. And he's Barry Allen too, isn't he? Pretty sure he's not
Yeah.
Wally. He's
Yeah, he's
Barry, right?
Barry Allen. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't go with him anyway. I mean, he was doing your job for you. I would just use him. But yeah, you get three. Oh no, that's the new Superman. I don't know why this is a Latino Superman, but and a lady. Okay, but anyway, yeah, I this is out of control. Don't you guys think this is out of control?
Yes. Yes. And if Johnny can get his entire name ran through the mud and get shit on like he did for an accusation, what the hell does Ezra got to do before they move? Like, I just don't understand it. You can't even make the excuse that, which would be a ridiculous excuse, but I guarantee you there's people who would make it, that he's not attacking women because he's literally been attacking women.
Yeah, he has been. He doesn't
What
like
the
women,
hell?
dude. He doesn't like women. Although it's kind of weird when you get into this article here, because let's take a look at this. This is from somebody. Anyway, this person, I didn't look up here the name, Solange. Of course, your name's Solange. Anyway, this MNFer is off his effing rocker. I remember he flew my from Hawaii, flew me, I guess, from Hawaii to Oklahoma to work on a movie with him. I guess his boyfriend, or is it? We were having sex one time, and he knows I use the they them pronouns, and he still stroked my hair and said, "Good girl." Mind you, when I'm 19, okay. And my flight was canceled or some shit, and he literally cussed out the person who was trying to help me fix my flight. I was like, it's literally okay. Okay. I don't know if that's how offensive that is. It's creepy. The image is pretty creepy. I'll take that. But
Yeah.
is that assault, Grimlock?
Um,
For not using pronouns,
Yeah, he said, "Good girl."
I don't care.
That's
yeah.
I mean,
creepy, dude.
personally, I don't care. I
That's
would.
creepy.
I've already said what I think of these unhinged people. The world is not. You can call yourself whatever the fuck you want. The rest of the world isn't obligated to go along with it. So
I agree.
Yeah.
if that bothers you that much, don't fuck them.
Yeah, no,
It's real
fair
simple.
enough. Yeah, and I don't know what this little girl's doing. I don't know. That's weird. I don't stay away from that. Business intimate encounter recap part two. Note from Victor here mentioned they had not had contact with Miller for months until Ezra decided to call and ask for their hand in marriage. Okay. During such separation, Miller had multiple partners. Of course he did. And let's see here. And then there one day in like February or something, called me saying he wanted to go to England with him and work with him in Europe and live with him, etc. Wanted me to have his babies and get married. Okay, so is he like? Does he swing both ways? Because that looks like a female right there. And this is a female talking. I mean,
I don't know
women
with
have
Ezra.
babies.
Ezra's a very strange creature. Let's just call him that. He's a strange duck and a very violent duck. This seems like far less egregious than anything he's been legally accused of by
Right.
law. To be honest, now, okay, you could say it's creepy or whatever, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Compared to literally on video choking a woman, throwing a chair that hit a woman, which they claim wasn't intentional, but I don't know. And the ridiculous tirades he's gone on multiple times now and
Right.
been arrested for or kicked out of places for.
Uh-huh.
I,
It is weird.
well,
This is a woman talking though, and it is interesting because I've actually been just a few feet away from Ezra Miller, and he literally my wife's size, so he comes out
it's
to about
tiny.
my mid chest, right? Is his actual height, right? Around my mid chest, my nipple line, and this girl would be my belly button or
Very small.
waistline. That's an incredibly small human, which doesn't mean anything, I guess. She's not happy though, but. It just kind of goes on to all his troubles and the things he's doing, and accusations of abuse are coming at him. Which, knowing his nature, it's not hard for people to buy it. So the overall thing here, it doesn't matter if any of this is true or not, is this is a broken IP,
Yep.
right? And I don't know what the hell Warner Brothers can do to fix it. I understand they have an entire movie in the can. It's literally in the can and has been in the can. But I don't see how you release it, dude. I really don't. Anybody have any comments on this?
Grant Gustin.
What was
I
that?
Sorry.
just want to know
Internet took a poop.
I just want to know what does he have over these executives that he can continue to do what he's been doing the past few years and still have a job,
It is
Yeah.
weird, dude. It's too
because
much. Yeah.
it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, we like I said, I know it's different, but the we saw what mere accusations derailed Johnny Depp's career,
Right.
just
Gina
flat out
Carano made an
take it off the
actual
rails.
accurate meme.
You not only
Gone.
have you yeah uh, yeah for having the wrong opinion, you saw somebody's career get stopped in its tracks.
Yeah.
These are not accusations.
No, these are
These
arrests.
this is beyond yeah, this is beyond accusations. You have videos, you have police documentation, reports, all kinds of things being filed.
Mm.
This is the kind of behavior of a clearly unhinged person who needs some time in a nut house
He
or
needs
jail
some
cell,
help,
one of
dude.
the
He
two.
clearly needs help. Yeah, he
And
does. Yeah.
and whoever is at Warner Brothers, I don't know, maybe he's got a fuck friend that who's got some executive power that is
It
just
could just
allowing
simply
them
be.
to.
It could just simply be he's a gay, openly gay man,
Because
and therefore you're not allowed to interact. Badly interact with him. Maybe it could be just that simple.
well, I mean, it could be, but at some point you got to sit here and go. And it's not like Ezra Miller's a draw. Okay, this is we're not sitting here going. I can't wait to see the next Ezra Miller movie.
See, that's fair.
Nobody is
That
saying
is
that. I don't.
fair.
I don't even
Yeah.
think his own family's eager to see his next movie.
I mean, well, no,
Um,
because what has he been in
but
successful? Justice League flopped. The Fantastic Beast stuff has flopped. What has he been in that's
and he was
actually
the
been
worst part of
successful?
Justice League.
He is.
Well,
I
okay,
agree.
that's fine, and that's not here or there. I'm just saying that what movie has he
Yeah,
been in that
yeah,
has?
that's because I mean,
Well, okay, I'll get your point, but my question really
because you're
is what?
making this guy a lead, and I'm like, who wanted him in that role? Who wanted to see him to begin with?
I
Anyone?
haven't. I don't
But
think there's any. I don't think there is one. I don't think there is a movie that he's been the lead of that has made, or even really a part of, that's been a mega hit or even a substantial hit. I think the Fantastic Beast movies have done okay. They haven't
nah,
done,
they're not doing well.
gangbusters,
Yeah,
but
unfortunately.
they made three of them for a reason. So,
Yeah,
um, the the idea that anybody, I really don't think there's anybody besides very small select number of weirdos, basically, or people who just don't pay attention, that care or want more Ezra Miller. If they replaced him in this franchise with literally just about anybody at this point, it would probably be for the best, because he's toxic as hell. He's going to do nothing but be a big lodestone to Warner Brothers going forward, and they're
yeah,
trying to build something here. Still trying to build something here. This isn't the guy. He's not the guy. He's not the Robert Downey Jr. He's
yeah.
not the
No,
franchise player.
there's nothing here that
Yeah.
stands out now. But whatever. I don't want to keep bringing up Ezra Miller, but it's just because what I'm thinking in my brain is the Flash, like I said, is in the can, and that's got to be $150 million movie, right?
Right.
120, 150 million, who knows, could be more. And when you add an advertisement, it's probably double that. So $300 million invested, maybe 2 to 300. However, Ben keeps bringing up the TV guy's name, which is Ben.
Grant Gustin.
Grant Gustin.
Grant,
I wouldn't be offended by that. I thought he was fine as the Flash.
Just want a
How
blonde is all.
how
I
much
want to see
money
blonde
though,
Barry.
dude? How much money would it cost to do that to a AAA budget movie that's in the can to go reshoot your lead? That's a lot of money, dude.
I actually think it. I think it'd be hilarious if they just didn't address it at all. Like he just like reshoot it, have him be it, and don't mention it at all. Just like
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that would actually be kind of funny.
it would be. And I don't.
Well,
I agree with you, Ben, because like I said, I mean the show got shit, but that kid did fine. I thought he was fine
well,
as
Yeah,
Barry.
the first couple of years were pretty good. It
Yeah,
got, you know,
yeah,
as most shows like that, the longer they get, the sillier they get,
that is
right?
true.
So,
That
but
is true. The
the
first
first
couple
couple of
years were
years were a
great.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. So,
well,
whatever.
what?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, what you said about the reshoots. I'm thinking, well, how much of that are they using something like CG for, like, the speed, like parts where he's using the Speed Force and things like that?
Hmm.
I mean, that
Well,
would be really easy to go
that would
over.
be easier, sure. But he is the
And
lead. Therefore, he's going to be in a lot of non-CG scenes too. A lot. So you have to bring in
that,
the other actors.
that
Sure, you can use backgrounds. You can kind of. We know how they map things in these days. Ben
no.
knows better than the rest of us.
Well,
But
the truth of the matter is, and I'll stand by this. I think they would have scrapped this if they wasn't trying to cash in on the nostalgia of Michael Keaton being in it.
yeah,
If they wasn't doing that, this movie, I think, would have won up in flames a while ago. And they're trying to somehow keep that because I guess they think that Michael Keaton alone having a cameo in this movie is going to be enough of a draw
yeah.
to save it.
Put him
I'm
somewhere
afraid I
else.
got some bad news for them that
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not.
and with Discovery Team coming in taking over Zaslav there we can see that they are shifting gears. They want to lean more toward the Joker, the Batman type of stuff. They got to put the Penguin series on HBO, which is a good move. I think it could be a good move. It seems like they are kind of leaning in that direction. It doesn't look like we're going to get the Schneiderverse or the Hamadaverse. I think they're
Yeah,
just moving in a different direction.
good.
So it might be worth it just to scrap that movie altogether. Yeah, because it, I don't know. Because I guess any money's better than none, I suppose. But
They could very well end up just releasing it and then just say going forward we're going to replace Ezra's gone. Basically, they're firing Ezra Miller.
mhm,
Um, because they pretty much already got it made, from what I understand. It's basically done.
yeah,
They're doing some reshooting here or there, but I really don't think they're going to put in the effort. They probably should, but they're probably not going to
yeah, it's going
put
to
in
be
the effort
very expensive,
to
dude.
get rid of Ezra. Yeah,
And and the thing is, if they do move forward, they're doing kind of these one pieces where the universe doesn't necessarily have to cross over. I think I'd love to see a lot of that. Give us some
yeah,
interesting characters. Take some of these other smaller characters, and they mentioned that, by the way. Zaslav
yeah.
mentioned that directly. I mean, I've said this several times, usually in some kind of diversity conversation, but I don't need a diversity conversation. I would love to see a Vixen movie. That would be cool,
Yeah.
dude. Vixen would
My
be
my
cool.
question my question to them, and this would be to both Marvel and DC because they've both done this, and I think it's dumb for both of them to do it. If you have a show like a TV series, and you have a pretty well known character like a Green Arrow or a Flash or a Daredevil, and that show does well, and it develops a following, what does it hurt to take that actor or actress and move them up into the cinematic version?
Yeah.
Because you're going to be bringing you so the whole point of this is you're supposed to be bringing in as many people as possible. Well, fuck, you already got a built-in audience of people watching it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Like, there's
Well,
no
here's
reason.
the crazy thing, right? So it worked with Star Trek. So there's already
Exactly.
precedent for it with Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
fuck, they made 6 Star Trek original cast
yeah.
member movies. They made what 4 or 5 Next Generation movies with all the same people,
We never got a
and then
DS9 movie. That was bullshit.
Yeah, no,
that was
that's true.
bullshit.
But I mean, and keep in mind that Zaslav did say that he wants to see vertical movement, meaning he wants the live action
Yes.
and the movies to be connected. So maybe that's why Ben keeps saying that guy.
Yeah. I don't mind
It should
Grant
have been.
Gustin. I think Grant did fine as a characterization. I want blonde Barry Allen. I don't know why that's such a sticking point to me. Probably because we've never really had him in live action.
Maybe.
At least not that I can remember. I want him to look like Barry Allen. That's all. I know it's silly, but I just do. I just want him to look like Barry Allen. Kind of like Jack Reacher, right? The Reacher series. How awesome it
what?
is.
That was wonderful, dude. Yeah, that was
Great
really good.
casting.
You can dye Grant Gustin's hair.
You
Do
could.
it. Let's dye his hair.
I agree.
Let's do it.
But I mean, there's other
And
characters.
don't address that either. Don't just dye his hair and have him be in the movie. Don't address any of it. Just have him be in the film.
That's true. That would be
Right,
funny.
don't
as
even
hell,
say
dude. I
anything. Yeah,
agree.
this is him now.
No, it'd be
This is
funny.
Flash.
But I mean, think about some of the characters we could get these kind of one-shot character focus type of movies, like we got with the Joker, right? Or even the kind of thing they did with a surrounding cast with the Batman. Imagine having like an atrocitus story about where he came from. That'd be interesting. Or some of the other, not the main ones. What about Big Barda and Mr. Miracle? That could be fun, right?
Oh,
We've
you'd have to
seen,
give that to a very talented director, though, to make that right.
but I'm just saying it could be cool. Is my point.
Yeah.
We could, of course, we do have Dwayne Johnson come as Black Adam, which is going to be good, maybe or maybe not. But I think he's perfect casting for it.
I think it looks good. What we've seen of it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, where's the Zantana movie? I think she'd be interesting.
Oof.
You have to change her costume up because it is kind of dumb costume, but you could certainly make a good
No.
a good movie with her.
No, you will
Chester, how
not.
dare
You
you?
will not.
How dare you? That's them fighting words, Chester. Don't you dare besmirch Zatanna's costume.
What about a Victor Zsasz movie, dude?
Yeah, I like it.
How about
There's
Vandal
so- he-
Savage?
The guy, what's his name? Something Lav? He is completely right. Zaslav. He's
Yeah.
completely right. They have a humongous roster that they just don't touch. Why? Make smaller films or little TV shows with them, and let's see what you can do with them.
Yeah.
Like, it would actually be cool, in all honesty, to get a proper Blue Beetle and Booster Gold series.
Yeah,
That could be
Booster Gold.
interesting.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I mean, but I'm just kind of going in my head through all these characters they could do. Another one you could do, I don't know what people think about it. If you want to go diversity route, you could do an icon movie. It could be done well.
Oh, bro, I would love that. And you could even do it because one of Icon's main stories is, him and Superman kind of butt heads. You could do that story. Why not? When Icon
Sure.
first shows up, Superman doesn't trust him or whatever, and then he grows, and then you can just spin him off. You don't have to. There's so many easy. Like, Marvel's done this right by and large for over 10 years now. I don't understand why this is so confusing. If you want to do these other side characters, lesser known characters, you put either change up the make a formula and do something crazy with them, like Guardians of the Galaxy, or put them with more established characters when they show up, and then bounce them off of that.
Yeah,
I don't understand why this is so confusing. I mean, they've been doing it in comic books for fucking ever.
sure.
I don't understand why this is so confusing. It's a very simple formula. It works. It's proven to work. So just do it. If you want to make Icon movies, that would be the way to start it. Is have him and Superman. Find a really nice, fit, jacked black guy to play Icon, and Henry Cavill. Oh, come on, bro.
Bobby Lashley.
Come on. Oh my God.
He make a good icon.
Actually, he does fit Icon's profile, not just
He does.
physically, but personally, because Icon is a rather soft-spoken dude. He's not a.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's not a very boisterous dude. Yeah, that would actually work.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, I would be down for it too. But there's so many. I mean, I think Ben was mentioning a week or two ago. Where's our Static movie?
Yep.
Right? Where's
No,
a
Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, dude! Mr. Terrific is badass.
Where's my Mr.
He's-
Terrific movie? God
I
damn it.
agree, dude. I would love to see that.
It's like I said, for whatever reason, Warner Media intentionally ignored the cries for Static. It is insulting what they have done to Static the last 10 years. And then when they finally rebooted the Milestone books, they gave Static to the absolute worst writer imaginable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, find a young black actor, make him Static, give him a little bit of a run, maybe even doing a TV show on HBO Max format. I think it would be great.
We already have him, Chester. We already have him. He's perfect. He's the kid in the last season of Cobra Kai, that black kid.
Oh yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
There he
Not
is.
a bad
Young
choice.
Static right there.
I have to go with Ben on this one. Who do we get to play Mr. Terrific, Ben?
Colin Kaepernick.
Oh,
Oh fuck no!
you
I would
fucker.
burn the theater. Andaro, I would come to where you live and hurt you for that one.
Yeah, that deserves hurting. Ben, who
You know,
You already-
he's a little bit
you already-
older. I would really like
sorry.
Chewie. Would
Oh.
Chewie be too old?
Oh,
Ford
Chewie?
Chewie? I forget how you pronounce his last name, but
Chiwetel? Yeah, him.
yeah.
Nah,
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
probably.
He's good. I was
He is
actually
good.
thinking about the dude they casted as Blade would actually make a good Mr. Terrific.
You would.
Mhm.
Cottonmouth. Yep.
Yeah, but my
He'll
problem
always
with
be
him is
Cottonmouth to me.
I think he looks too cool. I think Mr. Terrific needs to have a little bit of a slightly nerdy side
He
to him,
does.
for me,
Yes, yeah.
Chewie has that. I think the other dude has a little bit too much of a cool look to him. I mean, that's why they cast him as Blade.
Just go to Comic-Con, find the nerdiest looking tall black guy you can, and there you go.
There you go.
That's it. We're in.
And there's probably somebody
no.
who will be more dress comic accurate than what Warner Brothers
Yes.
would do anyway.
That's
The
fair.
cosplayer.
Yeah. But no,
Yeah.
Mr. Terrific would be great. You
It would
mentioned
be.
Salome Grundy earlier. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have him show up in something? I mean, it's a
Oh,
cool character
Yeah.
that the fans would cheer, right?
oh yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of trying to go through the obscure stuff, right? I'm not getting real nerdy about it. I'm keeping it mid-level. But we got characters you could do fun things with. Plastic Man, Olmec. I mean, God, dude.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that they could do. Now, to be fair, we've gotten a lot of kind of pseudo cameos from lots of little characters. To be fair, but there's a lot they could do with a little bit less well known, which gives them more freedom in the movie format to do.
About
And of course we left out the big one here. I've been I'm saving this one. And I'm not talking about Martian Manhunter either.
that's where I thought you were going.
No, Martian Manhunter would be fun too, but he's pretty too much like Vision, I think. However, where the hell's the Midnighter movie?
Oh, yeah. I
I
like
mean,
Midnighter.
seriously. I mean, he's a
got a
cool
great
ass
name,
character,
too.
and you
I
know
want
what?
Grifter,
He fits
man.
their
Fuck all that,
narrative,
man.
dude. Well, he fits their narrative. He's a gay dude,
Yep.
right? But he's badass.
Yeah. That's
No,
true.
I'd rather have Manhunter, to be honest. Martian Manhunter movie. Yeah, I like me some John. It's
Yeah,
a good time.
I would enjoy it, but I would love a Midnighter movie. I mean, it would be
And
fun.
I agree. And I agree with Hal. They Owen Wilson Ben Stiller Blue and Gold movie would have been pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah.
That's a missed opportunity.
I think
That
part
would
of
have
the
been good.
problem is that I think DC is kind of stuck in the same place that Marvel was stuck for a while, in that they're hesitant to take risks on lesser known IPs that they own. And it wasn't
Yep.
really until James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy, and
Yeah.
people are like, "Well, that's never going to work. Nobody knows those characters," and it worked incredibly well.
Blew up, yeah.
And-
Yeah.
And it's weird because Booster Gold would be that Guardian. I think would be
Yep.
that Guardians type movie for DC
Yep.
because a lot of the comedy that they can do in Guardians works for Booster Gold.
We just need somebody at DC to take more risks, right? We're still just doing like all the classics, right? Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, even Cyborg, right? He's still one of the standards from, the
Sure.
Justice League, core and stuff like that. Like, we're really not taking risks in DC at all.
No, they should. I just
Oh,
named off a
that's-
bunch of tier 2s, right?
Right.
Hey, look! They give me an Etrigan movie. I could
Oh
die
my
in a
God.
theater a happy man.
Etrigan would be awesome. Another
Some
movie could
Etrigan.
be a lot of fun, and I don't know why the hell Momoa wasn't Lobo.
Oh my God,
He's
Lobo.
freaking born
He
to be
would've made a
Lobo.
great Lobo. Yeah.
Oh,
He
what
would have
the
made a great
Yeah.
logo.
Yeah.
But here's why I want them to do that. I want them to do the ancillary B level,
Oh.
C level Justice League guys, because then
Bro.
you can do Doomsday properly, and then we can
Adaro,
get a
I got an
real
idea.
Death of Superman movie. Go ahead.
Braun Breaker as Lobo.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that could work.
That could be fun.
That might not suck.
Yeah.
It
But
might
I
not
mean,
suck.
I hope that from what we've kind of read between the lines with Zaslav's comments, that this is the direction they're going.
Yeah.
that would be fun. And the thing is, you just make sure you craft them well so that they're good movies, like you're supposed to. And another thing. It's interesting. It's very different from what Marvel did, right?
Right.
You're doing something different. Not everything is part of the same universe. I understand it. I mentioned this before. I think Thundera has, Ben has certainly mentioned. I think Grimlock even mentioned it as well. With the fact that Disney was in a panic. Excuse me, DC was in a panic to catch up to Marvel
Yep.
Studios, and they screwed it up epically.
Yep. Screw the
So
pooch.
do it different. Do these little things that aren't necessarily connected. Just make good, solid, fun movies.
Here's the
Joker.
crazy thing, right?
hmm
Deadpool, the first Deadpool movie specifically. The second Deadpool movie is okay, but I think the first one's better,
Oh, much
personally.
better. Much better. Yeah.
But regardless, they exist. They're,
Sure.
rated R, they're vulgar, they're a little brutal, and they're, especially the first one tries to play around with PC stuff a little bit, right? To
A
do
little bit.
Lobo,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to, and do him properly, you're gonna have to you just gotta do him. He's gotta be a full on, all the toxic masculinity, he's gotta be it all the time. And I think that's why you're not seeing them do Lobo much. Is
Yeah.
because
Maybe.
it would suck to get a Lobo movie and have him only be like 50% Lobo.
No, you're
Right?
right.
Like, I want Lobo. I want him to be a total bastard. That's what he is.
He
I
did
mean,
I
kill
want
his
that.
entire planet. Just keep that in mind.
Yes.
I mean, to a certain degree, though, like when you talk about like toxic masculinity, and I'm not totally against that, right? I think there's totally a fine, venue for guy
Sure.
films, right?
Of
You know,
course.
you guys
Yeah.
talk about Reacher, and that's definitely within that vein. And I think that's perfectly fine entertainment. Like, so you're never gonna see me like argue against that, right? We never like argue against like romance novels when they're
No.
really sort of just the inverse of that whole equation, right? So
Right.
I'm despite me being the liberal cuck of this crew,
Right.
Yep.
I'm totally fine with that, right? Um, but I feel like that's kind of what like Jason Momoa was as like Aquaman, like not as like
Yep.
like crazy as Lobo is for like killing his thing, but like he was like just oozed like masculinity, right?
Yep.
More so
Yep.
than like either Batman or Superman, right? Like
Yep.
comparably speaking, like he's not as strong as like Superman, but like holy shit, like he was just a fucking badass for the
Yep.
movies that he was in,
Which
right?
is why we lament him not being Lobo, because he'd be perfect for it.
He would be perfect. No, like if you look at all the fan casting, they put him
Yeah.
as Lobo. Like
Yeah.
that's like the top tier pick for like Lobo, right? So yeah, it's just a real question of like DC trying to figure out. Like, here's the thing, right? Argue as much as you want about Kevin Feige, but like they pick sort of a directionality. They pick
They did.
like an overarching story to
And a
do,
plan.
and they put and the plan, right? You might not like the plan, but at least there is a plan,
Mhm.
right? And again, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we saw the plan and it worked out really well. And hit or misses there, but for the most part, I think it was pretty well executed. But the problem with DC is there doesn't seem to really be a plan. It's all really
Yeah.
haphazard.
That's true.
There's no guiding force. There's no czar that oversees like the directionality and the tone and stuff like that. And I think that's part of the problem
Yep.
is that it's just like with the Star Wars reboots, right? There was no plan. They didn't sit down in a writer's room and said, "Here's the story we want to tell across 3 movies." And instead, it was like a game of telephone tag, right? Where somebody tells a story to somebody over the phone, and then they got to like pick it up the next piece. And that doesn't make any sense for telling a trilogy, right?
Nope.
So DC, I would, this new guy taking over, I hope he sees the wisdom in saying, you're going to be in charge, don't direct the movies. You're not in charge of directing the movies. You're in charge of setting the tone, the pace, the story. You don't have to get into the nitty gritty of everything, but like pick a direction for where we want to tell the overarching narrative.
Yeah. And one of the important things comes from what you first said, Ben. It's impossible to make a movie for everyone. And it's all right to have a movie that is mainly for a male audience or mainly for a female audience or what have you. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that.
I've never
And
argued against that.
no, and who does? I think the problem, because Kevin Feige had a plan. I've been praising Kevin Feige's plan for years. And I think where they got a little bit off was they started specializing it more toward a certain demographic instead of trying to keep it in that middle ground that they were so desperately fighting it to keep. And I think that's why people are kind of a little bit miffed with the Phase 4.
Well, I mean, and I get what you guys are saying. I've been very empathetic to your plights and how you kind of phrase the concerns and stuff like that. I just don't see it as big of a concern because they're trying different things, and if it doesn't work out, they're capitalists. They'll switch systems and go back,
Fair
right?
enough. Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah.
I'm still waiting for the first Disney hit plus though. Disney Plus hit, sorry. Still waiting because so far every one of them has sucked balls, dude.
So I enjoyed Moon Knight. That's why I want to come on tonight. I just want to trigger you. I was really just wanting to slip that in at some point, just so I could. I mean, it wasn't my favorite of all of them, but Beck really enjoyed it. She she liked the crap out of it.
Well,
I think that
tell
was
her I hope she loved her Lady Moon Knight.
I will.
Damn it.
Well,
Anyway.
I'm gonna spoil it for you, Chester. There is no Lady Moon Knight. They didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I know they didn't.
They teased.
It's just dumb, dude. It's so poorly put together. It's a mess. The only thing that had any kind of viability to that is the old pretty boy actor there, who's not pretty anymore. He was cool when he was on scene. He was handling it. But
Ethan?
was Ethan Hawke. He was handling it. But everything else was, oh my god, dude. I mean, when are these people going to learn that Oscar Isaacs cannot handle the lead, dude? He can't. He can.
Well, someone who can and should be given more roles is Ethan Hawke. That dude, the last two things I've seen him do, has been spectacular. As Harrow, and then in The Northman as the King, just spectacular performances. He owns the screen when he's on it.
Talk about a dude film. Northman is totally a dude film, right?
Yeah.
That is like
awesome.
Testosterone, like on crack, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally a berserker in that film, just like already.
Well,
yeah. So
he's an Ulfzerker. Let's
no, he is an Ulfzerker in the film too. They call him a wolf berserker, which is stupid.
Well,
but
yeah,
he's a wolf berserker.
You know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not saying there's anything.
Yeah, just like romantic comedies. Well, they should certainly not stop making those because that's a money. Because the girls, the guys take the girls to their date movie for those movies, and there's money.
Well, I mean, not even just like I'm not even talking about romantic comedies. Like, have you seen like the finances involved in like romance novels?
Oh yeah,
right?
Women love it, dude. I love all the noise we get out of these. It's not all women. We know it's a quite small percentage of people who make noise either side of whatever politic you want to get into. But I just loved all the noise I hear, Me Too, and all this kind of nonsense. But yet the biggest damn book and movie franchise they came out with women in mind was about a frickin' S&M dude beating on a woman. I love it. Fucking what? I mean. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Not only that, it was fan fiction.
Oh, my super fan fiction, dude. Yeah.
A poorly written fan
fiction.
Written
fan fiction. But I'm just saying, it counters 100% the argument that we hear. Right?
No, there's a delicious sense of irony in it. I'm not going to argue with that like whatsoever. Right.
Yeah. And I am for everybody having entertainment that they enjoy, and it goes either way. Like for instance, with Anne Rice stuff, Interview with the Vampire, we won't talk about Queen of the Damned, but it's a pretty solid movie. But did they respect the author? Not at all. That is a highly homoerotic book series. They didn't respect it whatsoever.
Old vampires were.
What do you say, Ben?
She was pretty upset about that too. Like Anne Rice had a lot of.
I don't blame her.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Just make what it is kind of the point I'm trying to make. I mean, if you took the same people and you they hinted at it, right? But if you leaned into it a little bit more with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and did what she had written, I still would have liked the movie because it was really well done.
Yeah, but no. I get what you're saying, and I'm totally in line with you, and I really wish they would have. I'm just saying that in the era it came out, I'm not sure it
Yeah.
would have done as well because we weren't as progressive then.
Yeah,
Like
but it wasn't a topic at that time either, though.
it super was.
No, it wasn't.
It's yes, it was. Interview with the Vamp. Like so, Interview with the Vampire came out in 1994. So we're talking about a film
Mhm.
that came out like 28 years ago or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
You do
my
keep in mind, I was an adult at that time, living
no,
in
I
the
get it.
world. No
I
one
was I
gave a shit, dude.
well,
Nobody.
I guess I grew up in a different part of the like
Well, yeah, Texas.
that's a really good point. But my point being is that culturally, like, do you remember when the movie Inside Out came out with Kevin Costner and Tom Selleck?
Sure.
I knew people who lost their mind because Tom Selleck kissed a dude,
Yeah.
right? This like this pinnacle of machismo because he was Magnum PI and stuff like
Right.
that, right? And they like my stepfather was like he hated like even the concept. He refused to talk about the movie even existing because Tom Selleck can't kiss guys, right?
Yeah.
And so
I
my
get it.
point being is that in that film, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, two again kind of pinnacles of machismo and stuff like that. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with you. I'm just saying that it would have
It
been
might
tough.
have had a slightly smaller returns, but I don't know if it would be impacted as much. I mean, think about other actors that have done that. Michael Caine, some of his most praised movies, he's playing a homosexual, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bruce Willis, the Ultraman in The Jackal, he has a scene where, because he's not really gay, but he's acting like a gay, and he kissed a guy twice. Really kissed him. I mean, he bought into that 100%. There are many examples from the 80s and the 90s of the machismo men, the macho men, playing gay characters or pseudo gay characters. They did exist. That it didn't destroy the movies. It didn't. It wasn't a topic like, oh my God, did you see this? There might have been some chatter amongst individuals one to one, but the TV wasn't talking about it. The newspaper wasn't talking about it. MTV certainly wasn't talking about it. Nobody was talking about it, is my point. It just wasn't a topic. It's something that might have happened around the dinner table, possibly, depending on your family and where you live, but it wasn't an overall cultural zeitgeist topic, is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I just disagree.
Right.
I think it really depends on where you lived.
Well, I was in New York, so fuck me. I get it.
Okay, well then, yeah, that explains this whole conversation.
Yes. Yes. It's not my fault. They have really good delis.
They do.
They do. Amazing pizza, and the desserts are to die for.
How did I end up in here with two New Yorkers and an Austin cuck? What happened? What decisions did I make in life?
Poor
I
life
know.
choices, Sandero. Poor
What
life
the
choices.
hell?
It is true. That's
Where's
true.
Eric at? At least Eric's from the Midwest. Get in
That's true.
here. Where are you, Eric?
I forget, Grimlock, you and I are from the same place.
Well,
Yeah. What you were saying?
you're from the same city, anyway.
Well, I mean, I was in the East Village, but you said you were in Brooklyn or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sunset Park.
Yeah. See, I lived up in I lived in Brooklyn Heights for a while, so I mean, I know Brooklyn. Of course, the bad thing about being in Brooklyn was I had to walk to school every day because it was just down the road, and I had to get in a fight every damn day. Brooklyn Heights, man. But when I was older, I lived in the Village. Of course, I was a musician, but
Ugh.
it just is what it is. Grimlock. You just have to go with it. But you know what I lived in? Over in the Village, they have a lot of those brownstones. But
Oh yeah.
over toward the back on the water, they have those old ancient red brick warehouses that are all lined up on the water there. They
Yep.
had taken one of those, the second floor of it. The first floor they had, it was a nightclub actually. But the second floor, they had turned that entire warehouse into, wow, a flop house really, where you paid a very
Yep.
minimal amount and you got a bed, and that's where I lived. So,
Yep. And all the old warehouses, all the warehouse jobs left.
They did, but they
That's
got
where a lot of
converted
those.
into use, though. 'Cause like I said, I slept in one, and there was just a bunch of beds and a bunch of people. But working in Manhattan, well, because I was doing studio work, but I was also doing federation work. So I go do a bar mitzvah or something like that, right? Because over in Brooklyn, there really wasn't any work for me to do musically. I could bounce. I could, be a bouncer in a strip club or something. But there just wasn't. There's so much more money to be made with the Jews.
Yeah.
Well, dude, those Jews pay good money for those bar mitzvahs.
It's just a
Especially
very
back then,
weird
there was
sentence. That's all.
Well, they do. I mean, and it's all
Um,
classic stuff that all us Federation guys we all knew by heart anyway. It's just this kind
yeah.
of standard stuff, big band standards. We could play it in our sleep, so it was really easy work. But the real big money was studio stuff. You know how much money Grimlock this is back in the '80s, '90s, right? You know how much money I would get for doing a session work on an album?
about $1,000 session.
12 grand.
Nice,
Yes, and this is way
nice.
back then, dude. 12 grand for doing session work on a cut album. And I was only playing like I was playing the background stuff, right? I wasn't a lead,
Yeah.
right?
Hey,
Lester,
I
speaking
tell
of
people,
music,
that-
last weekend,
Mhm.
my happy ass, you know me, right? I don't really care about artists so much, especially musicians. It's just not, I care about the music. But my buddies, I live in Ohio,
Mhm.
and about 2 hours away, 2.5 hours, something like that, is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So my buddies were like, "Hey, you want to go with us?" I was like, "All right." So I went. I'd never been there before. Went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting place. I think you would love it. I think you would get lost in there for hours.
Yeah, probably.
Uh, yeah, it was very very interesting
Yeah.
experience. The
Don't
Rock and
take
Roll
me
Hall of
to a
Fame.
museum. It's a bad idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can stand in front of a single exhibit for like an
And in the
hour.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they actually have a real Hall of Fame.
Oh,
So they
nice.
have like their little exhibits and stuff, with like memorabilia and artifacts and things. But then they also have a hallway with big plaques, with big gold things on them, with individual inductees. That's down a hall. It's literally the Hall of Fame. I said, "Huh, that's neat."
It is
Just
neat.
thought it was
Yeah,
neat.
I agree.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it is, a lot of the albums I worked on because I'm just playing, on the background instrument part of that group, right? But the actual musicians themselves, the pro, these legend type or famous people, I never met them. Oddly enough, even though I can guarantee everyone listening to my voice, you've heard me play saxophone before. I know you have because I
Yeah.
played on some
a,
pretty big albums,
a
right?
lot of the best players are the session guys,
Oh yeah, no, session guys are pros, yeah. But I mean,
and some of those guys became legends because of it.
yeah, I mean
Like,
that's definitely true. Of course, the most famous saxophone player of all time was a session guy, Charlie Parker. But a lot of guys come out of that, especially in
Really?
jazz. Yeah, no, Charlie was a session player, dude.
Why did I haven't been looking at the chat? Oh, it's because he said shit. Okay, I see it. Never mind.
Yeah,
But
but
it had hid one of Howell's comments, and I didn't notice he said shit. So never mind.
Yeah, yeah. But it was interesting time though because like I said, I guarantee you all have heard me playing saxophone. I guarantee it. And but yet I did all those kind of big albums technically, but I never met the pros. I never met them.
Isn't that you in the one of them, whatever one it is, in your music in your outro or your
Oh yeah,
intro?
yeah,
What is
yeah.
it?
But I'm talking about
Oh,
big albums like Sting and things like that. If you've heard any
cool.
Sting albums from the late '80s or '90s, that was me. Right on
That's
the on the
awesome.
on the tenor, yeah. But of course, the solos are all Bradford Marsalis, as they should be, because he's freaking awesome. But
Right.
all that saxophone in the background, all that saxophone you're hearing with the Sting stuff, that's me playing. So you've certainly heard me
nice.
play saxophone. That's but it's weird that I've been on these albums and I can, I don't really talk about it, but I can claim that. But I've never met. Well, I met Sting at the university, but that was different. He was doing a lecture. But I never met them while doing that. I never met
Wait,
Shaka
wait,
Khan.
wait. He was doing a lecture?
Yeah, yeah. He came down. I met Steve Vai the same way. He actually gave me a pick.
What was he doing a lecture on?
Well, Berkeley is the premier music school on the planet when it comes to blues, jazz, rock, stuff like that. And
Sure.
they're just big famous people they bring in to do lectures. That's all.
That is hilarious to me.
Well,
Just
why
the
not?
just the entirety of that conceptually, Sting giving a lecture.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is it's weird when you think about the fact that I'm actually working on these people's album, but I never met them, never saw, not even just coming like at the lecture. I'm not talking to them personally. They're talking to a group of people, right? But
Right.
not even that situation. They didn't do this. They didn't pop their head in to the band as we're working or warming up and say, "Hey guys, think nothing." Not a single appearance. Didn't see their face at all. None of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pretentious pricks.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh
say it. I'll
no,
call them out, Chester.
I'm wrong. There was one. There
Oh,
was one.
never mind.
What is his name? Oh goodness gracious, help me out. He did.
You gotta
He
give it
was
more than that.
no. He was the lead singer of the time, Morris Day. Morris Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Morris Day. I cut on one of his albums with saxophone, which is really cool because the guy who usually plays sax for him is really badass. But they couldn't get him for that, so they brought me in for it. But Morris Day actually came in. Not only did he come in, he sat in there with us. So Morris Day was really cool. I don't know. Most of these people don't know who Morris Day is. I'm assuming, but Morris is pretty cool, man. I
Shit,
like
that's some good
Morris.
shit.
Huh? You know who
That's some
Morris
good
is?
shit.
Oh, you like Morris?
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. That.
He knows Morris Day in the time. Chester, what's wrong with you?
I don't know. It's a pretty long time ago, but he was cool. I remember him. He was really neat.
I was raised by old people, so that's.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. Freaking Morris Day, dude. Hey, what was that, Grimlock? What was that little sidekick dance he had? What was that called? Ah, you know what I mean, right? He did the song and they just kind of do the little
I know what you
sidekick.
mean, but I forget the name of the dance.
Yeah, that was cool. Morris Day was cool back
Don't,
in the day, man.
don't ask me much about dancing. Dancing is where the white genetics in my family
Oh
clearly
God, the German
won.
got you. All right, I understand. Well, have you seen a polka? You know. We need we
No,
say anything
no,
more?
no.
But anyway, I'll get on. I'm just rambling here, and I got to go work anyway. But thank you guys for all coming in. Thank you, Grimlock. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Tower. He left, I guess. Thank you, Thundero. Thank you, all you guys listening. Come back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to be talking more comic booky stuff more directly. And I'll try to make tomorrow way more fun than today, because there was a lot of silly stuff to kind of mock and laugh at, I think, today. But nevertheless, thank you guys all very much. And Thundero, take us out of here.
I'll read you a little poem I wrote. I like it. I think it's a good poem. It's called Can We? Very simple. Can we find heroes in the darkness? Can we
Yes, we
find
can.
saviors in the night?
Yes,
Can we find truth in the shadow? Can we find light in the shade? Can we find angels in the madness? Can we find victors in the blight? Can we find peace in the hollow? Can we find blush in the grade? Namaste.
Yes, we can. Later.
If you're Obama, yeah, we can.